a lot going on. All right. Okay. Can everybody see and hear me all right? I apologize once again for my tardiness. I'm trying to still get set up for y'all. Prayerfully, everybody got the, even though I still was running late besides that, but hopefully everybody got at least a message somewhere saying that I'm running behind. And thank you everybody for coming out last night. For those who came for a graft-in session, we're gonna do another one tonight. Okay. Let's see. All right, I think we got just about everything set up. A little hot out here today. Okay, once again, mic check 1, 2. You can see and hear well. YouTube, can you see and hear me all right? Sorry for running late. We're gonna go ahead and get started. I won't make all the announcements, just look for the schedule. And we'll be following everything to the letter. Only thing I'm gonna make in the way of announcements, only thing I'm gonna say in the way of announcements is North Carolina folk, let's make sure that we're paying attention to the text stream. Prayerfully you guys are able to bring something with you. I'm gonna double check. I guess tonight, the list that I have, or at least what everybody said they're gonna bring, and we'll just have to use that as our barometer of what's being brought. If I can afford to fill in whatever gaps, I would do my best to. But hopefully we'll see everybody in the Carolinas that can make it tomorrow. It'll be at about 4 p.m. New York time. I double checked. Excuse me. The park supposedly is supposed to be open until 9. So we should be able to go at least 4 to 9 or something like that, 4 to 8, 4 to 9, right? But if you're coming late or whatever, or you want to stay for a while with us and chill out, you are more than welcome to. Babies can run around, do all that stuff. Somebody asked me a question, I don't know for sure, about the water. Is the water swimmable? Or are we allowed to swim there? So I'm gonna double check that. But if you want, if you're bringing your children, I'll try to put this in the chat as well. If you're bringing your children, I would suggest bringing some swimwear and stuff. Maybe we can even provide some little toys and things like that for them as well. But thank you all. If you missed last night, we do have it recorded. By the way, if you missed the grafting teaching, so it is recorded. But those who are coming on YouTube and maybe not coming through the actual Zoom link, I'm trying to catch you guys, but remember, I'm taking the role pretty much off of Zoom. So I'm using YouTube to make sure at least there's an audio recording of the sessions that we're doing, at least to start, so everybody can know those 5, or we can have a place eventually where those 5 can exist that the person can look for in a playlist. But that being said, please, man, please, sir, if you are joining us through those, just make it known to me, please, even outside of the teaching, make it known to me that you were on, so I can make sure that we take roll and say that you were there with us. I'm on? Alrighty. Let's jump in. I'm already running late. I apologize. I will not go any further than like 10:45, 11 a.m. today, because we do need to be on the road to make it over the rest of the way to so we can sleep and make sure that we are awake and get everything done and still be able to reach everybody and teach and greet everybody on Saturday. Am I? Alrighty. So let's say shalom to everybody real quick. I'm sorry, let's start. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer, and it is in His name, which is His authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect today's message. Amen. Shalom. Mashabache. Naikotai. Christ. Shalom. Hey. Shalom, everybody. Peace. I am Pastor Kofi, Pastor of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time, of being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. Appreciate you guys for being on. Hopefully we'll have everybody catch up or come on later. But I do apologize for my tardiness. I was trying and just had some stuff that we had to take care of. So sometimes it bees like that when you're on the road. But we have been doing a lot better with time. I will not make this a common thread. And thank you guys for being on. There should be a recording, by the way, for the stuff for the children that was missed on yesterday for Spanish class. There should be a recording sent to you guys, so at least we can get part one. They can practice and rehearse some of the stuff, so that when we come back next week, we'll be able to make sure that everything's on track. Okay? All right, I'll leave that there with announcements. We're going to get ready to go to Barashayat Mem Bits, or Genesis chapter 42. Once you have it, say amen. Say, God, say I'm with you, say I'm listening. Let me go ahead and greet everybody very quickly, and let's get into this word. How you doing? Oh, I said Alaya. Excuse me. How you doing, Erna? How you doing, Sister Carla? How you doing, Minister Tracy? Sister Beck, Alilu, Knight. I'm sorry, Sister Knight, Sister Mavis, Brother Craig, Julian, Bold Servant. Bold Servant. Oh, my greatness. I keep saying Bold Servant. I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. I don't know. Achut Dewarah, right? Achet, we would say, but Akuti, Deborah, Tamara. Let's see. Come on in, Brother Rodney, Sister Judith. Let's see, God's connected. Thanks for being part of the community. How you doing, Minister Yasav? Sister Iska, Sumerian, Big Brother Richard, Bruder Richard, MBA. I don't know how to say it. Is it Umbasa Marial? Or I'm not sure how to say it. But thank you for being on. I apologize. Please forgive me. How you doing, Darius? Quite a famous. Big Brother Charles. User 800-655-334. Natasha, is it? Jason. Tatted Up. Michael Green. 7 Mile Production. Tashika. Black Wall Street. Kyreek Evans. Harris. Peanuts. Nike. Carolyn Pompey or Pompey. Not sure which one you go by. Big Brother Thomas in the house. Prayerfully things are going well with with recovery. My wife is on. The Honorable Almas. Always check her out on TikTok, YouTube, website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A-N-D, the letter N. Bloom and Flourish. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. Alrighty. Once again, we're going to Genesis 42. We'll get ready to say our Bible pledge and jump in. How you doing, Junior? How you doing, Gals or Giles? Bugsy. All right. Got some amens, listening, etc. Praise God. All right. So we're going to focus on Genesis 42 today, but we'll say our Bible pledge. So if you'd like to join us, feel free to put your hand in the air, your right hand in the air, or your device in the air, or your Bible in the air, and repeat after me. Bible pledge goes as follows. How you doing, Brother Thomas? Bible pledge goes as follows. This is my Bible. This is my sword. And this will I trust. For Yahashua is Lord. No sword of God shall ever be heard. For this is my Bible. And this is Yah's word. Acham Yechavach. Amam. Which is Yechavach Shem, his name, his authority. Let it be done unto us. And maybe go back to what you were doing in the presence of the Most High Yah. Chalalaya. Machalala. Tudah. Ma'ech Pashachi. Salachia. Salachia. Sorry. Salakia, as some people would say, for being late. Once again, I apologize. Pray for us as we're on the road. And thank you guys for being on with us one more again. Amen. Also, too, those that are on the road, be careful. It is July 4th. So if you can go earlier to places, please get on the road earlier. Especially by the time the evening warms up, it heats up and all that stuff, and people are outside, and some person's drinking and partying and doing whatever, cookouts, etc. Try to make their way home or going to clubs and doing stuff like that. Just please, man, please, sir, make sure that you watch yourselves. I know that that's not our holy day. It's not our culture. That being said, I am aware that persons will still from time to time do things like that or find reasons to be involved with those things. Therefore, please, ma'am, please, sir, be very careful on the road, on your travels, etc. Okay? All right. And I think I said you may be seated. Genesis chapter 42. So in Genesis chapter, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Genesis chapter 37 is where we basically get the full introduction to Joseph, Yasav, who we're going to speak on today, the 11th son of Israel, the 11th branch or nation of Israel, the 12th child of Israel, the firstborn son, at least from the loins, of Rachel, or Rachel, who is the actual third child as far as including her adopted children. But the 11th son of Israel, the 12th child of Israel. And Yasav is somebody who has done nothing but be in his calling. but has dealt with jealousy and wrestling with his brothers and all types of stuff. But he is a curse breaker. He is one who is obedient. He is one who has favor. We learned that through him, through his example, favor follows obedience. Right? How you doing, Pearl? How you doing, Achet Dinah? How you doing, Sister Monica? Hang in there. Prayerfully, you're feeling better today. After we prayed last night, prayerfully, things are getting better. But there's all these different things that are going on, right, with him. And he ends up being put in prison due to jealousy. His brothers, the very persons that are with him, are the persons who end up putting him in prison. His own family are the ones who have put him in prison, or put him in the pit. Then his family, who are distant relatives but do not like him because of who he is, they come and they get him from these family members. So these family members who didn't get along, the Ishmaelites and those who are of Israel, right, who come from Isaac and Ishmael, brothers. So the Ishmaelites, Ishmael, the uncle of Jacob, right? And Jacob, therefore, the father of Joseph. So Joseph's great uncle is Ishmael, right? So these Ishmaelites come to the Israelites. They have the secret patch, the secret meeting. They sell him into slavery, right? And then the Ishmaelites, remember Ishmael and his mother Hagar have gone back to Kemet. So the Ishmaelites take him back home and sell him to Potiphar. But the calling on Joseph's life is so strong in chapter 37 that when we see what happens to him later in chapter 39, he is now Potiphar's right-hand man, because the calling on him, he still has this calling, he still has this favor. Everywhere that Joseph goes, by the way, he has a favor. Every single place that he goes, he has a favor, right? So every single place that Joseph goes, he has this favor. He always ends up second in command, and he ends up really being second in command, but he always is running things. And it's important that we catch that, remember, that we bring that back in our mindset for today, because today we're going to talk about no confusion, or making sure that we're not confused about who we are. And so it's important that we recognize that even when persons try to put you in second place, they say you are not Israel, they say you are not righteous, they say these things about you. It's important that we as a people comprehend that we got to come out and we got to recognize that even though somebody might have bad things to say about us, it doesn't mean that we cannot come out as what Yah wants. Remember, it is the second son, at least what they thought was the second son, but Yah looked at it as the first, who is now become Israel, right? It is the second son who they thought it was going to be Ishmael. Abraham and Sarah were disobedient, thought Ishmael would be the one through Hagar. Come to find out, no, it would actually be Isaac to be the promise, the one that Yah had said was coming. Right? A lot of times what we believe and what we put first and who we put first and who we've been taught about first, just like many of us were taught about Jesus before we were taught about Yehoshua. Right? Many things that we're taught first, we're coming to find out very quickly and very resolutely, right? That a lot of things that we thought were resolute before have become irrelevant through the actual natural law and design of our Savior and our Lord, right? So, how you doing, Sister Kimberly? How you doing, Ego, I don't know if it's Ego Amia? Apologetics, I apologize. I'm probably saying it wrong, right? How you doing, Sister Joan? How you doing, Material? Is it Material Boy? Okay. How you doing, Seamus? Dorcas? If I said that right, please, I hope I didn't say that wrong. Please forgive me if I did. But yeah, so we see a lot of times where persons make an assumption that something that we learned first, or that we thought we put our heart, our soul, all the stuff that we knew this couldn't be wrong. And then come to find out, actually, what Yah had that we put second, or that we had always, around in the ancillary or auxiliary type of position, come to find out that's actually what we should be listening to and what Yah really wanted. He was there the whole time. He was showing us who we were the whole time, right? So Joseph, every time that he went somewhere, he would be sold to Potiphar, but his work ethic, his obedience, the favor on his life, his beliefs lead him to becoming second in Potiphar's house. Matter of fact, Joseph tells Potiphar's wife, when she starts coming at him, he says, look, there's nobody in Potiphar's house more powerful than I except Potiphar. How you doing, Brother Lamar? Right? He literally says that. He tells him, like, or tells her, she's trying to get him to do all this other stuff. He's like, look, if you're thinking that because you're his wife, I need you to comprehend, I actually run the house. And I'm not going to allow you to allow me to be disrespectful to the one who gave me that power. If anything, you shouldn't be disrespecting that person, right? Why am I more faithful to your husband than you? Right? That's what he basically, in essence, tells the wife. So he has that type of authority. How you doing, Sister Lori? And thank you, thank you, babe. Right? And how you doing, Daily Music? So he makes it a point to say to her, like, yeah, I have authority, I have power, I have position, and I'm not going to lose that authority, lose that position, or any of these things, because because you're trying to get me to come out of who I am. She gets upset and sets him up. He ends up being put in prison by Potiphar. But when he goes to prison, what happens again? He gets that favor shows up, his obedience, his belief in the Most High. And literally, watch this, literally, I need you to catch this, he runs the prison. So although, yes, he couldn't wear certain clothes, he couldn't go, but so far, he's the person in charge of the prisoners. If you've ever been to prison, or if you've ever known somebody go to prison, or if you've ever heard persons talk about prison, maybe Ali Sadiq or somebody like that, you've heard talk about it. There are persons who literally are the ones who they are prisoners, but they run the prison, right? And usually we're hoping that they're running it for righteous reasons, but there'll usually be a guy that no matter if you are, no matter if you KKK, no matter if you are, one of the biker gangs, no matter if you are MS-13, no matter if you are Muslim in there, no matter if you whatever, right? There, whatever, no matter if you Crip, if you Blood, if you Black, White, Spanish, Asian, whatever. Usually what happens is that there's a guy who everybody can go to because everybody knows that's the guy. He can make your paperwork go away if you're nice, right? He can make sure you get off on certain things. He can make sure you're protected. He can make sure he looks the other way and you lose your life. This is the power that Joseph walks around with. So although we don't wish prison upon anybody, right? That being said, Joseph was running the prison. And remember, by the way, too, prisons are different than they are today, So this isn't like everybody's in a dark, deep place. That being said, it's still prison. He can't go where he wants to. But this would have been somebody who ran the entire prison. Matter of fact, we talked about this yesterday when we got to chapters 40 and 41. When the baker and the butler get there, they are told to check in with Joseph. And Joseph is told to make sure he takes care of them. And remember, we talked about this. Joseph, what he did was he served, right? They came in, and even though he had all his power and all his position, he used it to serve. That's how he got that favor. He was obedient to the point to where he served. He had a gift, he had a calling. No matter what, he served. He kept serving so well that persons would say, man, you got to be in charge, right? He kept serving persons so well that persons got freed from prison. That's what happened with the butler, right? He was serving so well that service, word got out, even though it took a couple years, word got out to the Pharaoh. Yo, you need this dude over here to come and serve you. Nobody's ever served me like him. Matter of fact, you were trying to take my life, but he served. How you doing, Sister Joy? And happy belated born day to Sister Joy. Praise Yah. Hopefully you enjoyed your day, right? Thank you all, yes, for any likes, shares, subscriptions, notifications, all that. Hit the notification tab. If you're following and stuff like that on YouTube, also, if you'd like to make sure that you give, besides just the gifts and talents, if you also decide to give money, we thank you so much for doing so. It helps us with what we're doing to make sure that financially we're doing what we need to do and the kingdom continues to thrive. Also, too, that includes for the stuff coming up for the babies, right? Because we're looking for sponsors for each child. So if you can be ready to help us with sponsorship for each child, we definitely appreciate that too. But just in general, thank you guys. Thank you for tithes, offerings, donations, double portions, all that stuff that is given throughout the year. We honor you and we thank you for your sacrifice. How you doing, Brother Cole? Of course, our pleasure. Baba Kasha. So yes. So in all these different things that are going on, praise y'all. And all these different things that are happening and all these different things that are going on, we see here, once again, that Joseph serves, and he serves his way to a position of being second in command. We talked about yesterday how Joseph in chapter 40 and chapter 41, Joseph has gotten to a position now, really focusing on chapter 41 in this bit, where he has literally gotten to a place where he served his way in front of Pharaoh. He's heard the dream. He's interpreted it properly. He's also been discreet and wise to the point to where he was able to give them a plan, and him making sure that he gave them what Yah had. Yah showed Pharaoh this dream twice in two different ways to make him pay attention, and then he showed him how to get out of it. See, and we learned yesterday, it's not just about the dream and the interpretation. A lot of people get excited just about that. I had a dream, I had an interpretation, I got a word from on high. But what are you doing as far as manifestation? So Yasav, Joseph, he actually gets to a place where now we're talking about manifestation. And the Pharaoh says, well, shoot, that's discreet. That's banal. That's somebody who can teach it. That's somebody who can put it in place. That's somebody who can manifest it. That's somebody who has the wisdom attached to it to make it work. Right? How you doing, Custom Fades? So we're not here just to only make sure that we're getting a few things here or there. We're coming here to make sure that we get the entirety. Right, the word in its entirety, the picture in its entirety, and make sure that we just don't get a word and then say, cool, I got faith in it, but we have faith in works that allows for manifestation. Even Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1, what is it? That says that now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not yet seen. That means that faith is a substance of what? Or where my hope is. And may I help you with something real quick too? We're going to make no confusion about who we are today. That's what we're focusing on. We're about to go into chapter 42. We're going to make no confusion about the power that we have as Israel, as Joseph, as Judah, as Benjamin, as all these different things that are happening, right? That we're going to talk about today, right? As Simeon, etc. I want you to know that you have to have a position of faith and works, right? Like we talked about for manifestation. Remember, whatever you're hoping in. See, it goes like this. Whatever I hope in becomes a substance called faith. And whatever I have faith in, I'll work it until the point where it becomes manifested. And a lot of persons don't want to deal with that, but we're talking about faith and works. They go together. They're harmonious. They're synonymous, right? They should be. If one has faith in something, we should be looking for what you work in. If one has works, we should be looking for what faith you have that causes you to do those works. Somebody might do works, but it might not be because they have faith in the Most High. So be careful, because their works might be nice, until their faith in whatever they're following says now be disgusting, now be nasty, now be deviant, now be perverted, right? Now be murderous. See, they have faith in something that says, oh yeah, we line up until, wait a minute, now you're making a turn, right? Like the Christian and the follower of the way. And how you doing, Sister Jennifer? How you doing, Sister Shima? Thank y'all for the love. Thanks for being on, right? So the Christian and the follower of the way seem like they're doing the same thing. They read out the same Bible, correct? I mean, you can say there's different versions, but technically you can say they read out the same Bible. The problem is that if one follows Yahshua and one follows Jesus, they follow two different things, right? You have to be careful, right? If one says you are saved by grace alone, and they believe that grace means unmerited favor, the other one says faith and works help you, and even to be saved doesn't stop, because you have to still work out your own salvation. Get back to the original intent with fear, reverence, and trembling, sometimes even being afraid to get outside of what Yah says. Right? That's two different things. They seem like they're the same path. Right? That's why you have to be careful. You have two persons that came out of the same womb. Esau and Jacob. Jacob, or Esau and Jacob. Seems like they're going to be doing the same thing. But if you look at their lives, and you look at the Edomite, and if you look at the Edomite, and if you look at the fact that Yah says, I hate Esau and I love Jacob. He says in the Bible, right? He says that Esau is the end of the world, of the wicked system of things, but Jacob, Israel, is the beginning of everything else. If I want to get away from wickedness, I've got to realize that there's enmity between Esau and Jacob. And unless Esau denounces his being an Edomite, he's still Esau, right? And I have to treat him as such. Two brothers, same womb, two nations. Now, once again, and we'll get into this, we even see where Esau and Jacob themselves actually patched things up, hugged, and let things be, right? That being said, though, others have come after that, using Esau and Jacob as a reason to go ahead and go back to being separate, you see? So we'll get into that more in Genesis, but that's, that's something that we don't talk about that much, I guess. How you doing, A.B. Road? But we'll leave that there. But I'm just saying, or actually we talked about it already. I can't remember. We've been doing this series since February 7th, so I think I'm getting a little out of order, so let me come back in, right? If I need to explain it more for Q&A next week, I will. But most of us know what I'm talking about. If you don't, feel free to bring it up another time. We'll go over it in depth, right? But we see that there's a distinction, like Jacob versus Esau, and Esau not doing what he's supposed to, right? Right? And so you have to recognize that, or seeing what's happened even with what happened with Fares and Zerah, right? Two children. The second child is dealing with stuff. The first one is given this, and it's due to actually, once again, disobedience, born into disobedience, born through disobedience. We have been shapen in iniquity. We've been shapen by a sinful state, by sinful matter, by sinful thought process, and so we're lifting things up that don't belong. So we have to make sure there's no confusion about who we are. We have to get rid of the confusion, for Yah is not the author of chaos or confusion. So anything that's authored by him is not confusing. Anything that's authored by someone else, we have to be able to step away from the confusion, step outside of the generational curse, and come into what Yah has for us. So, and thank you for the love. So in this thought process that's going on, still in chapter 41, we haven't gotten to chapter 42 yet. In chapter 41 of Genesis, we're still seeing, now Joseph be given power. Same thing he's been given everywhere else, but this time it's at a level where the world is seeing it, right? And if you go back and you look at your life, when I look at my life, I realize the same stuff I'm doing now, I might have only done it for one person here. I might have only done it for a few. I might have been preaching to nobody in seats at times. I might have been preaching and I thought that I was doing well because I was having persons in a congregation of 20. I had persons in a congregation of 5. I had persons at times where I was preaching in front of thousands. A lot more times I was preaching in front of, 30 or less. If 30 came out, that was a great number, right? All these different things. I'm not saying numbers matter. I'm just saying what persons think are relevant, we don't recognize the power in it. Even when we talked about, like yesterday, when one has lesser numbers, right? If somebody gets, some of you do a video, you get, I believe the example I used from someone else's video is a lot of us, social media has tricked us into believing that 13 likes is nothing. Oh man, this thing only got 13 likes, and you skip past it. But the person said something powerful. They said if 13 persons jumped you right now, right? I don't care how great a fighter you are. I don't care if you're Bruce Lee. I don't care if you Michael Jai White. I don't care who you be. I don't care if you Conor McGregor. I don't care if you're Floyd Mayweather. If 13 jokers started hitting you right now, you lost, right? You lost, right? If you just had 13, it don't take. If we had 13 persons that came and just started smacking you around right now, you not. I don't care how strong you are. You might take a couple of them out, but you're not gonna make it. Right? That's a big deal, right? So if you have 13 persons who like something you had to say, 13 persons that will follow with you, 13 persons that are invested in your business, 13 persons who speak words of honor around you, that's a whole lot more than a lot of persons actually get. But I've learned that if you have one person, you have 2 persons, right? Where 2 or 3 are gathered, Yahweh is in our midst, right? Be faithful. Be faithful in the prison. Be faithful on the street. This is my testimony. Be faithful when it's you and your children and nobody else. Be faithful when you're on the street, right? Be faithful when you're in prison. Be faithful when people speak all manner of evil against you. Be faithful when you train up others and then they tell everybody why you ain't nothing. Be faithful. I'm just trying to help you out. Be faithful. Know who you are. Make no confusion about it. Thank you for the love, babe, right? Be faithful. I'm trying to tell you, right? Remember, favor follows obedience. Surely, Tabah in his mercy, what's righteous in his mercy shall follow me, what? All the days of what? My life. And that's why I will dwell in the house of Yahweh forever, right? So when I go into his family, when I come into this house, favor follows me. I'm not chasing what follows me. I'm obedient, and when I'm obedient, but I'm favored, always follow. When I show up in some place, my favor follows. You can say whatever you want. You can be mad at me, you can this and that or whatever. You're not going to tell me I'm not favored to do what I do. There used to be a time where I would accept that, right? I can't anymore. Not just because it's for my own health and mental health, but I can't accept it anymore because I just know it's not true. There was a time where I would actually, okay, yeah, you're right. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm wrong about, the Bible's not. Well, maybe the Bible could be. Maybe you could believe. No. This is the word. This is the unadulterated word. And everywhere Joseph went, he was obedient. Everywhere he went, it grew. And now we see him on display where he's above everybody, to the point where in chapter 41, it is said about Joseph that not one hand should come down or one foot should make a step unless Joseph himself says it can happen. Why is that? Because Joseph is over the food, and as we talked about yesterday, food drives everything. Food was the money. As a matter of fact, it still is. Elder Alma and I were talking about this earlier today, where if you have food, you got to recognize that food drives everything. If you don't know, right? If we're, sometimes we get into synthetics and stuff like this, but for the most part, everything we wear is food. What we're supposed to put on our bodies, even as lotion and oils and stuff in our hair and stuff we put as, how you doing, Tune 3035, right? And deodorants and stuff, that's supposed to be food. Your body eats it, right? Food back then was very important. Did you know the reason that you call, $1 a buck still is because that bucks and buckskin and stuff used to be tradable. And it was one of the most tradable things. So when somebody gives you $1, you still say, give me a buck, or let me get a buck off you, or something like that, depending on what colloquialisms you decide to use, right? But the reason why you do those things or say those things is because of the buck was something that was transferred. Why? Because food is powerful. Just about everything in here, right? Well, not everything. There's some things. Make sure you know what you're eating and what you're not. If you don't know, make sure you train. But everything in here is food. But if a lot of this stuff in here, if I wanted to take it and take the time out, it can become something that becomes clothing. Clothing is food. This is why a lot of us get sick and don't realize that a lot of us wear synthetic items. When you're wearing something that's synthetic, you're wearing something that is sick, right? So if it's synthesized, by the way, even when we take food, if I can make a little derail, Holy Spirit give me a little permission to do so. I got to be obedient. I can't do this long. Elder Am, if you're still on, she can correct me. She's a herbalist, but she was trying to teach me again this rising about how I believe that something is synthesized. The synthesized does not necessarily mean it was made in the lab. That's something that I be thinking, right? If something is synthetic, it can be, but synthesized is really when something synthesized. For example, we were talking about magnesium. Magnesium is a lot of the magnesium that persons are getting is synthesized, meaning that the way they give you the magnesium is oftentimes given to you the way that your body would not receive it, but your body would produce it. Right? So in other words, let's say this, right? I don't know if this makes sense. I don't know if I'm even qualified enough. I feel like I'm drowning a little bit, but I'm gonna try my best. Hopefully this makes sense. I don't have all the terminology down, right? However, right, you can eat something. Thank you. That's the word she used. There we go. See? So, amen, Dinah. So you have a precursor. Okay, I'm right, factual so far. Okay, thank you. Because I'm like, I don't know if I'm getting this. I was paying attention, but I don't know if I'm getting all of it. I promise I'll be paying attention. So you have the precursor. The precursor is basically the form that it takes before you eat, right? Or before you digest it and everything. Once you eat it or once the body breaks it down, it then starts to become what we call synthesized. So then, once it's synthesized, your body produces things that are supposed to be used within its body and given out of the places. You tracking? Okay, thank you, Brother Dwayne. Right? So, but a lot of us, what happens is we're actually getting things from the world where they are giving it to a synthesized, meaning that our bodies might not even recognize it as food because your body does not eat the synthesized, your body creates the synthesized. And that's something I was saying, wow, so I got to really, not just with my diet and stuff I'm doing, but I got to actually be careful what I'm taking because I need to take stuff or just eat as much as I can in its natural form. One of the things, for example, I learned recently is that with broccoli, right? I used to do this anyways when I was eating nothing but vegetables, but I didn't know this was actually what you're supposed to do. With broccoli, you're supposed to either eat it raw or eat it steamed to a certain level, right? So you can keep, I forget what the chemical or the component, whatever it is called that you want out of it, but that you can basically get a specific thing your body's looking for from the broccoli. However, if you're going to cook it, you have to be careful because when you cook the broccoli, what do? You cook out all the enzymes and a whole bunch of stuff that comes with the broccoli that the body needs. So this is what you do. If you're going to eat broccoli, you take the broccoli out 30 minutes prior. You chop the broccoli up 30 minutes prior. And then, because your body, what happens is the broccoli begins to release things your body needs when you chew it. Then it becomes the things in your body that it needs to. It becomes synthesized. right? Is it calcium? Okay. So the stuff that you're getting from the broccoli, right, is it starts to develop when it's chewed. So if you're going to cook the broccoli, you cook all that stuff out. So this is what you must do. If you're going to go ahead and saute it or do something like that, you must take the broccoli and chop it up finely. Chop it up like you're chewing it. 30 minutes prior. Then because you chopped it up, right, it is created to, once it's chewed or chopped, once that sheen gets in place, it's created to start releasing what your body needs. So if you do that 30 minutes prior, then the broccoli will release those things and have it all over the broccoli. And so now you can cook it and still eat those things, right? But a lot of us don't recognize that certain things should be put in their nature. But the confusion comes to where, hey, I'm eating this food, but I don't even know how to prepare it. Or I'm eating this food, but I'm far away from it. As my wife was saying earlier today, we have become so separated from food, we don't think that we're wearing food, right? And it'd be better to steam it, of course. Yeah, right? How you doing, Logan? So we've forgotten that we actually wear food, that we put food under our arms. How you doing, Sister Sabrea? Right? That we put food on our skin when we're trying to moisturize. Right? Like these are the things that we forget. Like food runs what you eat. This is why the Bible is very clear about like what we eat, even spiritually. Be careful about those things that you're eating. Even the newborn babe should, right? If you're newborn into this, if you're just coming into the word, if you're born again, if you've just gone through your gestational period and are born again out of the Barashayat, right? Then you're supposed to eat of the sincere milk. It's like a baby who's eating something. The baby will grow off of insincere milk. The baby will grow off of something formulaic, but the formula is not even for you or for your baby. And really, it's for zero babies. The formula is not made for us. The formula was made for a specific baby. Not even just all white children, even though it's better for white children, so to speak. The formula is made for a white child, a white baby, right? It works well for one, and therefore they say all babies should eat it. But not just white or black, but do you not know that every single baby that's born is born to make sure that they eat of their mother? Even though they could get breast milk from another mother, they're born specifically to get milk from their mother, and their mother's body is designed to ensure that she gives the baby everything that it needs. She sacrifices herself to give that baby everything that she or he needs as a baby to ensure that as they grow, they include them when they get sick, if they get tired, if they need to go through a growth spurt, etc. Everything, there's certain things that the baby's milk, that the mother's milk doesn't even give the first few months, and then all of a sudden starts giving later, or will give the first few months and stops giving a few months in, because it's designed to make sure specifically for that baby, right? Specifically for that baby, right? Or the colostrum even is more so for that first time when the mother can't even give milk yet, right? Which is why we're still supposed to be connected to the umbilical cord and all that stuff, right? But I just say all that to make it a point to say that we have to recognize and realize who we're being fed by. This is why we try to make sure that our mothers are taught well, and the fathers should make sure that they are taught well. Husbands should make sure they protect their wives and make sure that they help them and learn and grow and give them security and affection and all those things, because the mother is going to feed the baby that, and the oxytocin and all that stuff we can get into, but we'll leave that there. Right? But I say all that to say, right, that one must recognize, if you're not eating something, we become so confused about life that we forget that the natural order of things, and a lot of stuff is centered around food. That's why a lot of these, I'm not saying we should, but a lot of these groups that are around, and nations that are around, have been around for millennia now, worship not just idols, but worship animals. And they worship grass, and they worship water. A lot of you don't know that's food. The sunlight is what you eat. You see that? The sunlight is what you eat. So even when you're in the sun, you eat the sun and eat the sun's rays. When I'm standing in the grass and my feet are on the ground, right? I'm eating the grass, and the grass is actually sucking, or the ground itself is sucking things out of me. There's been times where I've been so acidic, I'll finish a live session. I used to think it's because of my weight on the grass and stuff, but I'll finish a live session, I look down, I'm like, ooh, the grass looks sick. I can tell something wrong. I'm like, ooh, the grass looks terrible. It's sucking things out of my body. It's eating. We're having a symbiotic relationship. As I'm being fed and nurtured. The grass is being fed and nurtured, and the grass is even sometimes sacrificing itself. It's been created that it might help my earth, because I'm made out of earth as well. Right. So there's a lot of different things, but I say all that there's confusion, so much confusion in the world. We don't even think of things in their natural state anymore. It's very difficult for us to think about ourselves as natural beings. It's very difficult for us to think of ourselves as natural loving beings, being loved within the nature of ourselves, the nature of our calling, right? The nature of our creator, right? What is your nature? And thanks for being part of the community. Is it Shane's or Shanisha Persona? I don't know if I'm saying it right. Shanisha Persona VA? Shane's Shape? Or Shane's, I don't know how to say it. Please forgive me. But thank you for being part of me. I'm sorry. Forgive me. We appreciate you for being here. You said you're beginning to believe what we said about Nakash friend, the name change, it being a deity, you're still processing it. Oh, no problem. Yeah. You come on in, you question things. You know, question, I just say, as long as you're not questioning just for the sake of questioning. Questions are always valid, you know? Um, so we're learning, we're growing. I would have fought against some of the stuff I was saying not too long ago myself. You know, 25 years ago or so. 25 years ago, I would have fought against it. Right? No problem. I ain't mad at it. So, but yeah, we grow together. We learn together. We love each other through it, and you know, we come out in truth. The goal is a mount. The goal is truth. So, getting back to Genesis 41, Joseph, Yasab is given iron sharpens iron. Praise Elohim, right? All praises to the Most High. So, Joseph has been given second command, but Pharaoh says, basically takes his ring off his finger, and he says, look, this is yours. He says, I'm just higher than you when it comes to the throne. He said, other than that, everything goes through you. How you doing, Simple Farms? He said, outside of that, everything goes through you. He said, I'm telling you right now, I see Elohim on you, right? He knows he's a Hebrew, by the way. A lot of persons don't think about that, but once again, these are families. These are persons connected, persons married into each other, persons who live on their land, Ishmaelites. He even tells the person when he's in prison, tell them, I'm a Hebrew. Now, this is interesting, too, because when we start to get into today, right, we talked about all the stuff as far as, you know, the food and the famine and how they made it through and they were able to sell things back. And this is where now we see in chapter 42, today's focal chapter, we see that the family of Joseph, Israel, right, the family of Israel are coming for food. They have no food where they are, and the famine has gotten so bad that it's attacking Canaan. And remember, he had told Pharaoh that his dream, when he was given interpretation by Yah, he had told Pharaoh, he said, hey, look, all this, the famine is going to attack the world. And I said it wrong yesterday. I think I told you that they gave 2/5. They did a double portion. During that time, I believe, well, actually, hold on. Somebody double check me on this. Was it 1/5 or 2/5? I think it was, yeah, I might be wrong. I think, did they ask for 1/5 or 2/5 of all the food during the years of plenty? That's in chapter 41. If somebody finds it before me, I might not find it. But if you find it, let me know. Chapter 41. Or 40. Chapter 40 or chapter 41. I think it's chapter 41. He told him that you got to have somebody do 1/5 or 2/5. 20% or 40%. They had to tax everybody. I can't find it. Anybody find it? It's in chapter 41. He tells him exactly what he needs to put to the side. I can't find. Well, we'll come back to it if we need to. He put on fine linen. He told him, hold on. And let them gather all the food of those to buy years. Hold on. Let Pharaoh do this and appoint officers over the land and take 1/5. Okay, so it was just thank you. Yeah, verse 34. It was just 1/5, 20%. So a double portion in essence. Okay, so they took a double portion during the years of plenty, right? And so they have all this stuff and extra, and now he told Pharaoh, take the double portion, take this 1/5, take this extra tax, this extra tribute, or this extra tithe, if you will, during the years where nobody's going to miss it, because we're going to get into a season where not only are you going to need food, but everybody else will. And this is one of the reasons why they sell the food. They don't just sell it to Kemet, they sell it to persons all around the world. So persons around the world are coming to trade, and they have the most valuable asset because they were under the most valuable being called Yahweh. And that on those days, Elohim Shaddai, right? But Yahweh, we know him as Yahweh, his name, which was revealed to Moses, right? So literally, they had the most valuable thing you could have because they had listened to the most valuable being to ever exist. Think about that, right? Think about that. We give Yah glory, we listen to him, we're obedient unto him because obedience to him offers up manifestation of things that we could not get through anyone else, right? And so now in chapter 42, his brothers are coming, right? Who wouldn't have gotten there any other way than famine. Sometimes the famines in life and the bad things we're going through and things like that, hang in there. Can I say that to you? Don't give up, right? If there had been no famine, his brothers don't come back. And if he had not been obedient, even when his brothers sent him off, there would have been no restoration of the family, right? Because this is a story of restoration. Israel is restored here. You guys might not know that. Israel is restored here. Israel's family, all of his sons, his daughter, everybody is restored here. And they are brought into the land of Kemet to be in a place to where one of them is basically the ruler of Kemet. This is restoration, right? This is reconciliation. And we want to talk about this because we want there to be no confusion and no confusion about who we are, because as we come to this place where now Israel, who's been scattered, is coming from the four corners and making sure that we're now coming back into who we were always supposed to be, let us make sure there's no confusion about who we are and whom we serve and what we do. Sacrifice was fully consumed. Okay, I'm not. All right, so we're in this position, right? We're in this position, beloved, to where we're now going through reconciliation. And the reconciliation is due to the obedience. And he's putting up Josephs. You might be the Joseph of your family. You might be the Joseph of your community. You might be the Joseph of your region in SOC, whatever it is. You might be the Joseph on your street. You might be the Joseph in your house. But somebody has to be in a position to where no matter what goes on, I will be obedient and make sure that favor follows my obedience. And as favor follows my obedience, it will bring me into a place to where now persons look at me like I'm Pharaoh. And by the way, that's a bar right there. We don't have as much time as we normally would because I'm running late today. But can I just throw this in there real quick? Hey, when somebody is upset because people look at you like you're Pharaoh, before you say, hey, I'm not Pharaoh, say, well, I am Malachi. And last time I checked, let me double check, I've been obedient. And it was Pharaoh that saw the obedience. Remember, Pharaoh, because people forget this, that's why we talked about all this family lineage and stuff. Remember, Pharaoh, there were other pharaohs that had dealt with Israel as well. Read your Bible, it'll bless you. Did you forget that there was a Pharaoh that dealt with Abraham, and a Pharaoh that dealt with Isaac, and Pharaoh who had the Philistines and others underneath them, and pharaohs that had to make sure that they got the people to stop messing with Yah's will for us, right? Let us not forget, there are pharaohs. We don't just deal with Pharaoh when it's time to say, let my people go. We have had relationship with pharaohs, and all these other pharaohs made sure that they recognized the favor, and they knew that whoever blessed us was blessed, or whoever cursed us was cursed. He is the one who says that he believes. Pharaoh is the one that tells Jacob that he must be of Elohim. He knows who Elohim is because he knows who Isaac is, because he knows who Abraham is. Salah. You might not have ever thought about that or read that or had somebody tell that to you. It can be difficult because the Bible doesn't necessarily get read through thoroughly. We don't necessarily read it. But watch this. They knew who. Remember, when he's in prison and he sends the butler back to Pharaoh, he tells the butler, tell him I'm Avda. Tell him I'm a Hebrew. Remember, that's what he told him. Right? So Pharaoh, so in his mind, and I put this fact out there before too. Elder Anna has taught this when she was, if you go online and look at her classes for, I'm about to say sovereignty, that's not it. Sorry, babe. having a moment. Herbalism. Herbalism 1 and Herbalism 2, and some of the other classes that she's taught on health. When you look on there, she makes it a point in some of the classes to teach about how those who are known as Avda or Ebers, as we call them today, Hebrews, those who were known as Eber or Avdas in Kemet, that was a way of them saying that you were a healer, which meant that they knew that if you were around a Hebrew, they thought of Hebrews as being persons who could heal you or make things better in your life. This is not accidental, right? This is in their language. This is in the language of the Kemetic person, in the language of Mizraim, in the language of the ancient so-called Egyptians, that they knew who you were. Joseph says, right? Joseph says to them when he's in prison and the butler is being let go, before he gets let go, he says, in 3 days you're going to be let go. All I ask is when you get back in Pharaoh's presence, tell him that I'm a Hebrew and tell him I'm in here and tell him what I did. Now, this is when we get into the thing of no confusion. This is the thing where we have to get into the thing of no confusion. Because then, if I am Hebrew, right? We're not even getting into Israel yet, but just me being Hebrew means that somebody recognizes a lineage, a line that's on me, upon my life, in my family. And they recognize that if I be faithful, right? It is Pharaoh that said to Joseph, to Yesai, he said, hey man, you are a wise man and discreet of Elohim. He says, how can we find, he turns to everybody. He knows who Elohim is. And he says, could we find anybody who is more discreet and wiser than this one of Elohim? He uses that term, right? He knew who he was. Remember, there are other pharaohs who have literally seen Abraham's favor and seen Isaac's favor, have seen Israel, Jacob's favor, have heard of all these things, and now know that, hey, if I'm dealing with a Hebrew who worship Elohim, the same favor is upon him. Are you catching it? See, I don't want to leave any confusion. Holy Spirit sent me with a message today. She told me clear as day yesterday, no confusion with this message. When we leave here today, do not be confused about this. Do not be dismayed. Do not take this the wrong way. Do not think, well, here, I'm trying to tell you that they knew who you were when everybody tells you that they didn't. When they say the Bible, well, what about this? Nobody even cared about Israel. They knew about Israel, and they knew about Hebrews. And if they knew about Hebrews, then that means we're going before Abraham. That's why Yehoshua makes it very plain. I believe it's in John chapter 8, verse 58, when they start saying all this stuff and saying, Abraham is our father. They said, who is your father? Who are you? What gives you all the right to say this and that to us? And he said, look, before Abraham, Hananiah, it is that what it is. Or as you would say, before Abraham, I am. He said, before Abraham existed, there's nobody who can even deal with who I am. Before Abraham existed, I was already making decisions. Before Abraham existed, I already had a covenant with the family. Don't get it twisted. I'm dealing with Israel because Israel is the family that's going to be used to make sure that heaven meets earth. But Israel is not the beginning of the lineage. If Israel was the beginning of the lineage, you wouldn't need to be forgiven for the sins of Adam. Our lineage goes deeper than just Israel. We are Israel because of our father Israel, and we keep that covenant that's only through Israel because somebody has to be the tree that everybody would be grafted into or grafted back into. Shalom, Willie, how you doing? Thank y'all for the love. How you doing, Sister Shirley? There's a Jiggy Phantom, right? So hear what I'm saying. He made it a point that we have to know who we are. Pharaoh knows who we are. But here's the wild part, and it happens today. The confusion, because Israel is going to send his children. He's confused because some of his children have tried to deny one of their brothers, and they feel some kind of way about it. We'll discover they feel really bad about it. But at the time, they went and they were going to take his life, but because one of the brothers had enough sense to say no, well, let's not take his life, they went ahead and made him look like he was dead. So much so that his father now, who has had a second child by Israel, who's had now a second child by Rachel, who has now lost her life, he will not allow Benjamin to leave because something already happened to Joseph. So the way he's informed even on how to raise or train his children has already been messed up. because there were other persons who came out of Israel who were jealous because Yah had it to where Joseph would be a reason why they could come out and become greater and become better in who they were. Right? Be careful when we're just out here denying persons or talking bad about persons or talking smack or blah blah whatever about especially our own. Be careful. Be careful how that comes across. No wonder others find it so easy to talk trash about us. We open the doors for ourselves. No wonder can say black women because black men be the first persons to put it out on blast and put it on social media and then call it comedy. Right? And what was the guy? Andrew Schultz? Andrew Schultz doesn't feel comfortable doing what he did unless Charlemagne that made him comfortable. Unless that black dude and that other dude who is, forgive me, I don't know if he's Pakistani or Indian, but like him coming out and doing the stuff that he says about his own people, about black people and this and that, and everybody saying any race can get it and stuff like that. He doesn't feel comfortable with the guys from the and Giggles platform coming on there and saying what he said in front of him. He doesn't. If we as men hadn't opened up the door for that. And watch this, even sometimes women do it against their own. Just like men, we be getting mad at women for everything. And sometimes we as men have done it. We denounce each other. Watch this. Can I keep it a buck with you? Look, I'm not gonna act like I don't pay attention to rap beef. Right? Even though technically if it's real beef, that's a problem. But rap beef actually was supposed to be, hey, we're verbally saying some stuff and we joshing around, but really for real, ain't nobody gonna lose no life, ain't nobody sweating it, blah blah. It's become over time, especially after Pac and Biggie, but especially now we've seen more recently where persons are actually really out there taking persons' lives. If Jay-Z and Nas disliked each other and they rap some stuff, at the end of the day they get back together, hey, let's make this money. It wasn't really that big a deal, right? Nowadays cats are losing their lives, right? Unfortunately. But we have this thing where we as men have opened up culture where it's okay to go ahead and demean other men just to make yourself look better. So then how could you do that and then have the sisters who are looking at which man is supposed to be the best and supposedly taught by you, and now they sitting up there looking at what you're saying about other dudes, and they're like, okay, then the one who make the most money, you guys did that. Right? You guys made it about money. You guys are the one that took it away. You guys are the ones that said, hey, I want to wear the suit and I want to wear the tie and I want to get the white picket fence and the 2.5 children and the home that's worth $1 million, this and that or whatever, so I can be like him. And so now your woman started looking at him because that's who you look at. I know. So I don't want to hear that. But we don't leave no confusion today. See, you can't be upset that your woman is looking, or your man is looking at somebody else, right? If you saying that your man ain't acting enough like somebody else, he's not acting enough like the oppressor. And I'm not saying I'm here to tell you can't have interracial relationships. Y'all already know how we feel about that. Hey, you need to be about culture, right? But that being said, you can't be sitting up there talking about, hey, look at them as a standard. Look at them as the standard. Hey, I'm trying to be like them. I'm trying to make the money they make. I want my land to look like their land. I want my house to look like their house. I want my clothes to look like their clothes. I want my hair shaved off because I can never have their hair. So if my hair is low enough, nobody might notice that, hey, I don't look like them. If that's your standard, I've said this before. If you go and you decide and look, you feel like you've been led to somebody, because that's also another thing we don't talk about in these relationships. Are you led to the person? Are you led by Holy Spirit? Are you led by Yah? Are you led? There's something in you saying, like, is Yah in you? Is the kingdom in you saying, this is who you need? Right? Or are you just going to chase whomever? But if you're truly led, and if you're led by, biblical principles, how we are raised, or at least the word says we should be raised, how we operate, et cetera, et cetera. If you're raised by these things and you're going by this as a standard, then yeah, like, things should be in order. But see, we're not even going by that as a standard. Why does anybody say I don't need a man? Now, watch this. I don't need a husband is different than I don't need a man. And even your Bible, when it says stuff like, oh, well, I'm going to be single. If you're going to be single, so-called single, that's a worldly term. If you're going to be single, always remember then that means you don't date, because the Bible doesn't have any dating. So you don't get to go ahead and just be like, well, I'll go on a little date here and here. No. Either you're married. First of all, we should all be married to the Most High. You're married or you're not, though. But I'm trying to make sure that we comprehend, like, there's a lot of stuff culturally that doesn't make sense. Anyways, if I'm not careful, I'm going to go way out of pocket. I'm sorry if I'm confusing anybody. I don't have as much time. We're trying to whittle this down in my head. But I'm trying to even figure out what made me even go this route. Holy Spirit, help me. But anyways, When we're talking about Joseph, when we're talking about this stuff, we are not informed even on how to raise ourselves. And there's confusion when we see who we should have become or who we should have wrote. That's where we're going. There's confusion that comes place, right? And the system did set it up. The world set it up. And even we allowed it to be set up because we allowed a lot of this influence in. That's why we have to be clean, right? But when you get into this part of us being Hebrew and us being what Yah said, etc., here's the very interesting part as well, right? So you're going to see Israel send his children, and his children are so separated from Joseph, right? Because remember this, Joseph keeps telling everybody, he's never lost his faith in Elohim, right? Joseph keeps telling everybody, because he's never lost his faith in Elohim. He keeps telling persons like, tell him I'm a Hebrew. He keeps saying it'll be Elohim who interprets your dream. He keeps telling persons it's Elohim who made me second in command. He keeps telling persons it's Elohim who revealed the dream to me when you were in prison and gave me interpretation, right? It's the faith that he has. He keeps talking about it. It even says he remembers his brothers, right? So his brothers, in their mind, have cut him off because in their mind he might as well be dead because of who they sold him to and what their thought process was of him and what they did to him was so dirty. Meanwhile, Joseph still remembers who he is and where he comes from, no matter what environment you put him in. Does that make sense? Right? Yosef, Joseph, no matter what environment he's put in, he still recalls being Hebrew. He still knows he's Israel's son. He still knows Elohim. Right? This must tell us then that there must be some kind of prayer. There must be some kind of favor. He still holds on to the dream. Matter of fact, when he sees his brothers don't know who he is in chapter 42. But he knows. Well, Jacob, Israel never forgot about him, of course, but even Israel was under the impression that he was dead at this point, right? That's why he won't let Yain or Benjamin come in or come with them to see him. For fear, right, peradventure, something might happen to him. But Joseph, and all the stuff he's gone through, has never forgotten he's Israel. He's never forgotten he's a Hebrew. He's never forgotten his language. He's never forgotten his calling. He's never forgotten the favor. He's never forgotten obedience. He's been upset sometimes. He's had some bad days. He's been frustrated, but he knows that Yah walks with him, or Elohim Shaddai walks with him. Right? Constantly and consistently. He knows this. He knows this. So it's important that we catch this in Scripture and we're aware of what's going on here as far as that faith, because we must carry that faith. There must be no confusion about where we come from, who we are, what we do, what our language is, right? What our goals are as a community. How you doing, Brother Bradley? Right? So, but he sees his brothers and he recalls the dream. He never forgot the dream. The dream is there. He sees his brothers and he remembers the dream. What was the dream again? That the sun, the moon, and the stars would bow down to him. And here it is that his brothers have been sent on assignment because they're missing food. They're missing the very thing that gives life. And they see him. Granted, they think that he might be dead, or he might as well be as dead, or they would never think that maybe he would have made it to second in command, right? But they see him, not knowing anything that's happened with his life. And even though he looks like them, and even though that's their brother, and even though they share the same father, and even though they grew up with them, and so they would have even probably known some of his mannerisms, all that stuff, even though they are aware of all these different things about him, they cannot see him in that position because he is, in essence, Pharaoh. He is the ruler, not just of Pharaoh, but remember, when they come and they talk to him, he's testing them out. He says, "Where are you guys from?" He gets it together. He's trying not to cry, right? And he gets himself together. He knows who they are. He gets himself together. He's like, "Okay, I got to make it through this." So he says, "Where are you from? Tell me where you were from." They said, "We're from Canaan." Remember, that's where Jacob is sent. Remember, Canaan will become Israel, right? So that's where they're living. Remember, Abraham, that's where he lived. He sent his servant to get Isaac, Rebekah, outside of Canaan and bring her back, right? Right, then Isaac sends him back to his land as well, right? Or back to Rebekah's land, so back to the same place that she was gotten, and that's where Jacob, Israel, finds Leah and Rachel, right? This is so Canaan is where they are. This is the place where heaven's supposed to meet earth. This is the place where Israel is supposed to see his family become like the sands of the sea and continue to grow. Right? Even if we don't necessarily have to even physically go back to Israel, still, Israel is important because it's the place where what? Where heaven meets earth, even on the earth realm. Now, wherever your foot treads, it shall be yours as well. But it's important that we catch this, right? So they say we come from Canaan. We come from the same place. The Bible has been on point. It has not deviated, at least in this context. It has not deviated. It's been saying, hey, this is the area. This is what we're doing. This is where Kemet is. This is where Hagar is. This is where Canaan is. This is where Israel stays. This is where Goshen is. This is it's been consistent. Padan Aram, right, for the Aramaic persons and all this stuff. It's been consistent. The Philistines over here, right, talking about the Africans. The Philistines are the nephews of Kemet, or the son or the grandsons of Kemet, something like that. But all these persons, same area, right? And so here comes an Israelite who's already at this point been married in to Kemet, already been married in, right? And in being married in, he has two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, right? And these two sons are there. The same thing with the sons, by the way. The second son will be the one that's blessed by Israel, as Israel was the second born. As Judah, by the way, blessed his second born, going to a different mother. So the mother of Leah has Judah. Judah blesses the second of the two that ends up having the red scarlet tied around his wrist, right? You have now Joseph, and Joseph later on with Ephraim and Manasseh when Israel died, who will bless the second born as well, right? Kind of doing the same thing where he's considered to be second born, but he's the one that's blessed, and so on and so forth, right? We see this dynamic constantly, consistently pop up in Scripture, where we should not just assume just because one is firstborn that one is automatic, or just because we see it as first or whatever, right? We have to make sure that we think about that. How you doing, Golden Gates? Thanks for being part of the community. So here we go now to where, and we want no confusion out of this. Here come Israelites, and they see their brother, but they don't recognize him, right? Because here's another thing that we don't talk about. Israelites in Kemetic persons, Israelites in Mizraim, they look like each other. Especially if we get into the dynamic of Ishmaelites, right, who are married into Kemetic persons, right? Hagar came from a Kemetic person, Hagar, even, Israel and Kemet, right? And now you have Ishmaelites, and you have Esau, who's married into Ishmael, looking like each other, raised with each other, things of that nature. Now all of a sudden, here comes Joseph, married with a Kemetic person, having two Kemetic children, looking like each other, married like each other, right? So once we come over as the children of Israel and eventually marry into Kemet, over generations and generations and generations, you don't think that we began to look like each other to the point to when Moses is born, when there's a Pharaoh that doesn't recognize that lineage and that covenant that we have, that he starts to get rid of persons, but they look like Kemetic persons who he's getting rid of because they are part Kemetic, to the point to where Moses is hidden in the Pharaoh's house because he looks like the Pharaoh's people. He looks enough like the daughter, the granddaughter. He looks enough like him. This is genocide on a terrible level, because it's basically genocide against your own for the sake of trying to hold on power. And even when we would leave Kemet, we left with Kemetic persons. We left with Cushitic persons, which means that Kemet, Cush, and Israel, just about in many different ways, will look like each other. This is why you'll see some persons who you'll look at them, and if you're not careful, if you just saw a picture of them, you might think they're South Sudanese. Come to find out, man, that dude is from the Bronx. You know what I'm saying? Right? That dude is from the Bronx. But in your mind, if somebody just showed him to you and you had no context, and somebody just had him without a shirt or something on there, whatever, and you just saw his upper body, you might think that dude is South Sudanese. You might think that person is Ethiopian. That dude been living, that dude's family has been in the Americas, for 300 years. But in your mind, he's Ethiopian, because we're the same persons. We're the same people. There's a lot of mixing and stuff in there, to the point that when we talk about, that's why nationality is important too, and who we carry, and even some of the generational curses or things that we carry must not only just be like, oh yeah, we carry it because of this. Realize Israel carries a lot of stuff because of even who was grafted in at that point. And remember, even when we were out in the wilderness and we were cursed, right, with certain things, we had to go through different plagues and stuff ourselves because of our disobedience. Let us recognize and realize it's because of stuff that we brought from other cultures. This is why Yah has to keep us out there for 40 years, so that everybody by the time we go into Canaan is not mentioned anymore as Cush, Kemet, Israel. Everybody's Israel as a nation. Right? By the time we get into Canaan, when Moses breathes his last breath and Joshua and them finish mourning and they leave, or they press into, Canaan, this is a nation that at least bare minimum you got to consider Jericho, some Amalekites, Cushitic persons, Kemetic persons, Israelites, of course, some Canaanites from different cities to where they decided to be faithful, and they weren't just off. Some persons even who were of other places who decided to be with us. By the way, when we talk about the fact that Kemetic persons left, this also means you have to realize that some Ishmaelites left, which means they are no longer considered to be Ishmael, even if they're Ishmaelite by blood, which means there was also reconciliation. You see? So this is a story of reconciliation, but there has to be no confusion. Who's being reconciled and who's being grafted in or grafted back in? As will be the coming of our Messiah to set us free. Yes, to set us free and anybody who's grafted in. Right? Matter of fact, he has made us free right now, but we're not dealing with stuff to where we're making sure it's manifest. The stuff has been set before. The gauntlet, so to speak, has been laid. Right? And it's going to happen sooner than we think, but just be ready. This is right. We have to be ready. That we already have a choice to walk in blessings generationally. We don't have to walk in curses generationally. We were cursed. You can even say we are as far as eternal. Well, if you're doing past, present, and future, we're all together. Okay, our people were or are cursed. We're still dealing with curses. That being said, that does not have to be our focus anymore. Let there be no confusion. We don't have to focus on the curse. Doesn't mean we can't use the curse to be able to explain, yeah, see, on ships, this, that, etc. Parents acting up, boys out there rowdy, on the street corners and stuff, rowdy, like wild beasts and stuff, doing this, doing that. Sisters are afraid to even leave their own home. It's sore for them. It's a sore thing just to walk down the street. They got to deal with catcalls. They got to deal with being called this. They got to deal with the fact that men are protected. Men are jealous of what each other have, and now we take it out on our wives because, hey, our wives might say, look at what so-and-so has, or we feel like it just because we can't provide what somebody else can, rather than trying to share as men what all of us have together. So all our wives and all our children can be taken care of. We're trying to just hold on to the little piece that we have. Right? But the goal at some point is reconciliation. This is why Ezekiel 37, the question is asked to the prophet. The question is not asked, what do you think about these dry bones? The question is asked, shall these dry bones live? Come on. Shall these dry bones live? And we literally, and by the way, if it's a dry bone, just to make it clear, even though I think everybody probably gets this, but just to make it clear, if the bone is dry, beloved, that means it ain't got no sinew, it ain't got no meat on it, right? That means that it doesn't have anything trying to eat on it. That means that there's not no marrow, right? I know not no marrow ain't the greatest way to speak English, but I'm going to speak it that way. There ain't no marrow on it. That thing is dry. It's not alive. There's no life. And the question is asked to the prophet, can they live again? And we're in a situation where it feels pretty dry. It feels pretty dry. I ain't going to hold you. Sometimes walking this walk, and even seeing what y'all is doing at SOC, every once in a while, I look at the situation, and just for a second, if I be honest, right? It ain't no more than a second, half a second sometimes, but it'll catch me. Something catches me off guard, and I'm like, can we really live again? And we out here doing this, right? When the BBL is the standard of beauty, right? With fake breasts, when some places you go in the world, like if you were to go to Korea, if you were to go to some places in France, if you were to go to Brazil, right, they will call a woman having a natural look because she's only had facial reconstruction and breast reconstruction. In their mind, that's natural. There are places in South America right now, places like Argentina, where if you go, and in Brazil, where if you go certain places, they're starting to look at you weird if you say you want a natural birth. There are some doctors who have never had a woman give birth outside of a C-section. No joke, no lie. And I find out some of these things, and you're like, can these dry bones live? Because some of those are our people out there. And some of our people are traveling to these places or starting to take this stuff on, right? Our sisters in the United States of America, percentage-wise, off their children more than anybody else. And you see some of the stuff and you hear the numbers that some of these sisters have. I'm not saying all sisters, and I'm not here to body count or body, right, to do body count shaming or whatever, whether it's through that A word that rhymes with extortion or sexual activity. I'm just being honest with you as far as somebody who's a pastor and somebody who believes this and wants this. I'll be sitting up there and you hear some of these numbers and you see what's going on. You're like, can these you know, you just say it real quick to, yeah, can these dry bones live? It's every once in a while I ask. When you hear what men will say about women and women will say about men, and how men are condemned because all men or whatever from birth, and women are condemned because these ain't loyal from birth, can these dry bones live? Sometimes you think to yourself, might as well just give up. I don't know what I'm doing. I was preaching. You see preachers that are out here like just flamboyantly going against the word of God. Sometimes I whisper to myself, man, maybe I'm in the wrong. I've told my wife this, man, and sometimes I said it jokingly, but to be honest, I've said it like, I might be in the wrong business. I'm not here telling people the truth. You know, I had the thousands. I was on the way up there. I should have just kept, I could have been dancing. I could have been Bojangles out this piece, right? I could have been stepping fetch it out this piece, and I would have been straight. Because these cats is out here for real, glazing these cats, right? But as I recall, I just go, oh yeah, you know, the dry bones can live. That's right, because the wages of sin come later, right? And sometimes come during their life. Puffy had all the money, and he got off of what 40. He only got caught on 40% of the charges or something like that. But he still might have to serve 10, 20 years, even in getting off of some of the stuff or whatever. He an older man now. And he not used to being like, you know, on the streets and stuff no more. It's been a long time since he was, he was never really was on the streets, but it's been a long time since he was the dude on the streets, so to speak. He lived a whole different life, and now to be an older man, and now have some access to some of that stuff that you had, you know, prayerfully, he makes it prayerfully give his life to the Most High, seriously and sincerely this time. Because he has a right to be able to eat of the tree of life too, if he so chooses. Right? But that being said, sometimes you just look at situations, you're like, man, the stuff we were lifting up, the stuff I was raised on, man, the stuff that we still doing, the songs that are still coming out, the persons that now we're saying are the standard for us to look up to, shall these dry bones live? You know, you have every once in a while. Yes, they shall. And the dry bones represent the children of Israel, the armies of Israel, the family of Israel. It's promised. They shall. Yes, they shall live. Yes, they shall live. Yes, they shall live. Yes, yes. You hear what I'm saying? They shall live. Your marriages shall live. Yes, they shall live. Your money, your wallet shall live. Yes, it shall live. Your food. Yes, it shall live. Your righteousness. Well, actually, not your righteousness. Yah's righteousness flowing through you. Yes, it shall live. And it has a place to live. Hashtag a safe place to live. You say crazy. You could be living in a mansion right now, but you know, trading yourself is not worth it. Yeah, it's not. Right? It shall live. These dry bones, they shall get up upon each other. And it's not just they shall live. For them to live, it means that they can't be dry. That means that the marrow must come back, the sinews must come back, the muscles must come back, the flesh must come back, right? The hair must come back, the soul must return, the soul of the people must return, the spirit must be able to come through the soul to make the body move. They must. They must. These dry bones, they shall live. Right? So Joseph is dealing with reconciliation. And Joseph sees his brothers come back. And here's the wild part about reconciliation. His brothers Once they find out that he's alive, they're happy, they're ecstatic, but of course they're afraid at first. But I'll skip over the being afraid because they realize that he's second in command of all the Kemet, that he could take their life. But I'll just focus on right now. We'll skip over that, skip ahead a little bit. They actually become excited and they're thankful and grateful he's alive, right? But I want you to realize that they couldn't see him for a couple of different reasons. They were confused as to who he was. They saw him as ruler, which means, remember, when they put him in the pit, they saw him as somebody who deserved to die. Only one brother said he should live. Forgive me at this moment, I can't recall which brother it is. If somebody wants to look that up for me, please. But only one brother. I want to say Judah. I think that's wrong. I was going to say Simeon, but I believe Simeon is the one that they keep in chapter 42 as a prisoner, right? When he does the trick and sends them back to see where their heart is and stuff. It's Reuben. It was Reuben that kept him alive? Okay, hold on. Which one kept him alive? Reuben. Okay, so the first point, right? Okay, so I'm way off. Right, so it was Reuben. That would make sense. The firstborn would have, that's what firstborns do, get us to get our heads together, right? So it's Reuben who stopped it, right? But as far as they were concerned, everybody else was like, take his life. Reuben at first was like that, but he's like, no, we can't do that to him. That's our brother. Well, you shouldn't put him in the pit either, but hey, at least they had enough mindset to be like, we can't just throw him in, protect him, right? At least he had enough mind to say, hey, we can't just take his life. If y'all want that, and even to be the big brother, right, he was like, well, if y'all want to make it look like it, we'll make it look like it. But he can't die, right? So we'll take his coat, we'll take his gift, and try to rip it up, thinking that his gift, being ripped up and being brought before the Father, it'll be as if he's dead. Meanwhile, he actually had his gift for real, right? But they didn't recognize him because the last time they saw him was when they thought they had ripped him of everything and even taken them outside of their family. See, once you kick somebody out, or once you've excommunicated, once you've said somebody can't be part of you for unrighteous reasons, it's hard to see somebody lift up past your expectations. Salah. Does that make sense? We cooking with grease, right? A lot of persons, it's going to be hard to see you, Joseph. It's going to be hard to see you, Yosef. It's going to be hard to see you, Joseph. It's going to be hard to see you, beloved. It's going to be hard to see you, brother. It's going to be hard to see you, sis, because a lot of persons, the last time that they saw you, you were in the pit. And a lot of times, they were the ones that put you in the pit. See, when you put somebody in the pit, how you doing, Brother TJ, if I didn't say so earlier? If you put somebody in the pit enough in your life, it's hard to see him when y'all puts him where he sees him. Kingdom sense? I'm on, not common sense, right? A lot of us do that, where we have put persons in the pit or talked poorly about them, or we've said things about them so often that no matter what they do, we can't recognize them, even when they're basically, in essence, they're Pharaoh. They leading, not remember, persons were coming to him not just out of Kemet to get food, but from all over at least what they might call the known world. Right? This was a famine that was vast. It starts creeping all the way up into Canaan and into Goshen, right? And persons are coming from all over the place because they need food. Right? He is in charge of what keeps, in essence, persons alive. He has the most valuable resource on the planet outside of a human being, right? He has the most valuable resource on the planet, right? At his disposal, and his brothers can't even connect with the fact, not just because they thought he was dead, but right, or he could be dead, or they just, no, because how could we have put him in the pit and he ever get up there? And thank you, and that's where we were coming next. Sometimes hard to see yourself, that's right. Sometimes it's hard to see yourself because we have this inner monologue within ourselves, right? And sometimes we are the ones that put ourselves in the pit so much that it's difficult to see us in the mirror, and in the mirror, we're second in command. Right? That's very true. You know, but they put him in the pit so much in their mind over time, right, that he's either got to be dead or he's got to be a slave somewhere, right? And they didn't come looking for him. They came looking for what would sustain them, not realizing now that also, too, remember, they rejected who he was because they rejected. See, watch this. The butler was able to be restored. Why? Well, the butler can be restored. Once again, why? Why is the butler restored? The butler can be restored due to the fact that what? The butler can be restored because he said, hey, I see that you have the ability to interpret dreams. Here's my dream. tells him the dream, he gets the interpretation, he's gone ahead and he's able to take that and manifest, right? So the one who, the butler allowed, the server, butler, allowed himself to be served by Joseph. His service, Joseph being allowed to serve him, right, allows him to bow to him that he might be able to go back to where he was. And his bowing to him, even if it takes 2 years later, his bowing to him was, oh yeah, Pharaoh, you tried to take my life. This one actually gave it back to you. If anybody can interpret your dream, it's him. He serves. He was willing to bow. It doesn't mean that his whole life he had to walk around serving Joseph. It means, though, that that he was willing to be humble himself and say, what is your call? And if you're called by God to do that and you are getting it correct, then I should at least serve. His brothers and his father and his mother thought it was asinine that Joseph would come to them and say that they might have to bow. And many of us feel like that, right? Why would we serve you? Not realizing, there we go, not realizing that the one that we serve, right, or the one whom you're serving serves Yah. And if you're serving that person or serving the vessel, watch this. If I use a cup, right, the cup at some point must be cleaned, right? It must be taken care of. Just because I take care of the cup doesn't mean that I worship the cup. But since the cup serves me, I serve the cup. If I want to use it again, it must be cleaned. It must be taken care of. If I just drop the cup or throw the cup when I'm finished, I can no longer use what it is that serves me. So when I serve somebody in their calling and in their gift, it's not even them. Because watch this, the cup is not even what I'm really serving. I'm serving the cup because the cup gives me something. If I drink water, if I drink tea, I drink it from the cup, right? So the cup holds something. So I have respect enough for the cup, even though it's just a cup. See, some of us don't do this with human beings, but because I have enough respect for the cup, the container, because I have at least enough respect for the cup. Come on, somebody. Because I have at least enough respect for the cup, I'll make sure that the cup remains clean. I'll make sure that it remains whole. I'll make sure that it's given exactly what it needs, that it's dried, and all this stuff, that it looks a certain way if somebody else even might want to use it, etc. But I make sure that it's respected so that when it's time for it to serve, it can do what it's called to do. If I break it, I can't drink. Or I have to buy another one. And if I break that one, I got to buy another one. That's a waste of money. That's a waste of what Yah's given me. If Yah's given me something, I should make sure that I take care of it the best that I can. Right? If I'm going to use the car, you can have a brand new, I don't even know, whatever you want. You can have a brand new 2026 Lamborghini. Right? You can have a 2026 Lamborghini. But if it's not serviced, you can know how to take it around. You can know how to use all stuff. You can know how to take the gears, the clutch. You can have the greatest engine, all that stuff. But if you don't know how to service, if you've never put any brake fluid in, you're gonna have a problem. If you never put any engine oil in, it'll be real nice for a hot second. Greatest of engines, no engine oil. See what happens. Okay, 38 E-Class Jaguar. I don't even know what that is, but let's just make that the standard, right? 38 E. What is a 38 E-Class Jaguar? You can have all that, but if you don't know how to take care of it, you can have a 38 E-Class Jaguar, but if you don't put no wheels on it, if it's never serviced, you can have a 38 E-Class Jaguar, right? But if you never put any coolant in, you're gonna have some problems. You can have a 38 E-Class Jaguar. Try to go ahead, pour water in that cooler if you want, right? See what happened to you, right? I'm just saying, at some point, you gotta do some maintenance on it, right? At some point, you gotta serve what serves, and you gotta know the parts, right? If you got a what is it, a Lexus? Lexus ain't nothing but a Toyota souped up. It's great, by the way. They're great. I'm just saying, if you know that, then if you go somewhere, some of you will pay absorbent amount of prices for them to literally go and do what you could do. Go to the store, buy a Toyota filter, and buy a Toyota, and buy the oil or whatever, and you can do that yourself. But some of you are going to be like, I'm gonna pay $250. I'm gonna go to a place because they say that I got the best car. I'm gonna pay $250, $300 for an oil change, and you could do the oil change yourself for like $30, $40. What was it, 50 nowadays, I guess. But you could do a whole change if you know what you're doing. Don't just go out and do it without knowing what you're doing. Right? But I'm just saying, you'll do these things, right? And not realize. So even sometimes some of you are even like being put in positions to where you guys, persons are charging you for things that you could service within your own knowledge or within yourself. Somebody said you're going with a Bugatti. Whatever car is the car that you want. I'm just saying, right? If you don't know how to service, if you don't take care of it, it doesn't get taken care of. The thing that you can have the greatest wife in the world. If you don't make sure that you give her proper service, you can't be mad that she's stalling out. You can have the greatest husband to ever exist. If you don't give him proper service, you can't be upset that the engine block is cracked. You can have the greatest family, right? Family to ever exist, the greatest family van to ever exist, right? If you don't make sure you service them correctly, you can't be upset, when the wheels start falling off. Right? And so they weren't willing to serve. It was Joseph's service. What did you say? Y'all giving me all that. I don't even know what this stuff is. I know the companies and stuff. I know the colors, I guess. I know a Regal. Know it, 1972? Okay, you took it back there. 1972 Buick Regal in pearlized green. Okay. Right? But whatever it is that you want, it got to be serviced. If it's not serviced, then it doesn't matter. Even cars that aren't serviced, but so much, are better than cars that aren't serviced at all. You said you have the greatest worship, right? Don't study. Yeah. You can have the greatest worship service. You can have 7,000 persons show up every day on your live. You can have 50,000 persons fill up your church. If they're not serviced, at some point. So Joseph was somebody who serviced, and the ones who served were the ones who actually listened to him and allowed them to do. And Pharaoh even had a heart to say, hey, what can we do? And when he found out, because Pharaoh is supposed to serve his folk. He's supposed to serve his country, correct? And so Pharaoh hears from somebody who has a heart of a server, tell him, hey, your people gonna starve. He says, well, what do we do about it? He doesn't say, well, I don't care. I'm Pharaoh. I'll be straight. What does he say? Oh, man, that's terrible. It's his responsibility. What do we do? And then Joseph gives him a plan. He says, oh, the fact that you would help to serve my people and allow me to look great for serving my people as well. Hey, man, take the ring from one server, even though he's the ruler, right? But rulers are, remember, we talked about this. What makes a ruler a ruler? A ruler is what we use to measure. If one rules, that means that he is a ruler or she is a ruler. If you are a ruler, then the measurement, how we measure our lives, what we look up to, what we are looking to lead us in, etc., it comes from the ruler. Right? We measure our movements based, if that's how you actually pronounce it, but we measure our movements off of the leadership. Right? That's what the ruler is. So when everybody says there are no kings, there is no royalty, there are no rulers anymore, that's not true at all. Even if somebody does a poor job in ruling, persons are still looking up to them for measurement. Joe Rogan, by definition, is a ruler because persons look at him to say, how should we measure up? Whether he wants to take that on or not. Charles Barkley, I'm not your role model. I get what you're saying, and yeah, the parent should be the role model. That being said, though, Charles, if you're going to be on TV and you talk about anybody or anything, there's somebody out there that's going to use what you say as a measurement of rule. You should make sure you're aware of that. You should make sure you're aware of that. Right? There's going to be somebody out there. I don't even like when persons are around me. I'm just to myself. I'm an introvert. I don't even want anybody. I'm an empath. Too many persons come on me. They give me all these feelings. Guess what? No matter where you are, who you are, how alone you think you might be, you are a ruler, especially if you're in the kingdom. You are a ruler. You are a ruler under the ruler. You are malachi under malachi. You are malakachi under malachi. You are somebody that persons are looking at for a place of way of living their lives. And if you're not going to make sure that you do these things the way that Yah says, then you should not you should realize that you are against him. And if you are somebody who just saying, I'm gonna just do for me and mine, and don't realize your diaspora is looking for somebody like you to be in your lane, then you are not worthy of the whole royalty thing you think you are. And if you want to live underneath royalty, then realize you're willing to be a slave to the system. That's why we said there's will, lineage, birthright, blessing, and charge. There's a charge that comes with this. Stop talking about you royalty, or you a ruler, you a king, you a so-called queen, and all this stuff. And I say so-called because queen means something different than what you think it does. But that being said, you all these different things. I'm royalty, I'm this, I'm an emperor, I'm an empress, I'm this, I'm that. Okay, fine. Well, it comes with a charge. And it comes with a rule. Persons are supposed to look at you and say, how do I measure things out of my life? That's supposed to happen. Stop talking about you want to be famous, but nobody should listen to you. This is why you got a bunch of persons on scissor and stuff today. And Lil Wayne was back then in the day talking about, don't nobody need to look at me. Nobody look at me. I'm me. You do you. But Wayne, everybody buying your album. Everybody's using your punchlines. Everybody's having children like you have. Everybody's saying, do you like you say do. You are supposed to be this person that's planted in the industry to make sure that you stand for what they want. And if they know that what they want is for persons to be smacked out of their mind so that they'll continue to buy into persons who are actually contrarian to what Yah's will is. But you don't recognize that because you don't know what comes with being a ruler. A ruler is a way we measure. Okay? Thank you, Lauren. A ruler is supposed to be measured, even. Come on, somebody. A ruler is supposed to be measured. Why? Because people are like, why you always measuring stuff out? Why you always got to make sure it's this? Why you always have to have this? Why you always looking for so much stuff? Why are you telling us to do this and that? Why are you saying the same thing over and over again? Because it's measured, baby boy. It's measured, baby girl. It's got to be measured out, right? Yah is going to give something back to you. What? Pressed down, shaken together, and running over, right? Shall he give back unto your bosom, right? For with the same, as you said, shall he use men to give into your bosom? For with the same measure, the same rule, the same ruler, the same measurement. He is the ruler. He measures it out. For with the same measure, whatever you measure out, and you give whatever you have planned out, whatever vision that you step into, whatever works that you give with your faith, whatever faith you have with your works, whatever is measured out is what he measures back. But if you don't measure anything and just keep saying randomly stuff is supposed to occur, that is outside of his will. Well, I feel like I stepped on somebody's toes there. Right? If the shoe fits, wear it. If it don't, take it off. But there's a measurement. We're supposed to be measured. There's a measurement. We're supposed to be ruler. There's a measurement. It's supposed to be something that's in order, structured, never goes away. It's the same rule, right? If it's the same king that was over Israel back then that's over today, then the same measurement, see, this is how law works. I know you don't want to hear this, but the same measurement, the same rules for the ruler, for the way of measurement that were back with Moses are with us. The same measurement that was with Enoch are with us. The same measurement that was with Adam in the garden and Eve in the garden, so-called Adam and Eve, they are with us. It's the same measurement because the ruler, the rule, the canon, same word, by the way, meaning the same thing, the same rule has not changed. Right? So if the ruler has not changed, that means the way what we measure by has not changed. If it was a furlong back then, the furlong is still the same thing. If it was an inch back then, the inch is the same thing, right? If it was a foot, and the foot has been agreed upon that it's 12 inches, and if it's 12 inches when you were growing up, it's 12 inches today. You hear what I'm saying? Right? That's why you have to be in this stuff culturally. Some persons don't even know what a furlong is, and then don't even know what the furlong is agreed upon. So when your Bible starts talking about furlongs, and it talks about an angel's furlong, and the angels are way bigger than men, you guys aren't even comprehending that a furlong is from here to here. From the elbow to the tip of the middle finger. That's a furlong. And if they're talking about the angels are way bigger than us, then they're telling you this furlong from here to here is a lot bigger than what you think heaven's going to look like when it comes down and meets with the earth. Right? But that's always been his measurement, is bigger and greater than what you are. But it's not because he's changed, it's because you forgot who you are. You see what I'm saying? The same measurement. Now these persons have forgotten that Joseph was the one they were supposed to bow down to, and now here they are bowing down to him and asking him and pleading with him and begging with him that he would take their money so that they would be able to eat. How you doing, Z2X? Thanks for being part of the community. The same person who told him this is how Yah's measured it out. I'm telling you right now, I have this position, and this is what will happen. And they did everything they could, including selling him into slavery, downing him. They were willing to kill him. They made sure that he was dead in his father's mind and his mother's mind, whatever they had to do. And now here they are bowing and don't even know it because they can't see themselves being obedient to the will of Yah. They can't even see it. They can't in their minds. There's no way that they could bow down to this one, the one that was so nothing that we just sold him into slavery. They can't see it. Now here's another thing, because we want no confusion about who we are. Well, guess what, beloved? Who does Joseph look like? We just talked about that earlier. He looks like he's Kemetic. The Israelites and the Kemetic persons, the Israelites. By the way, that shouldn't be too surprising to us because Shem and Ham are brothers. So if one is Shemitic and one is Hamitic, and we're not that far away from the flood, at least compared to speaking to where we are today, it would only make sense that they look a lot alike. Am I? It would only make sense that they look a whole lot alike. One would just say it makes a whole lot of sense that these persons would look a lot alike. But Joseph, right? So basically Israel, Joseph and his brothers have shown up in Kemet. There's Kemetic persons all around. There's persons from all around the world too, right? But Joseph and his brothers are Israelites, but the Israelites cannot see the Israel in their own brother. Oh, is that a word right there? Man, when Israelites, we have gotten to a place, we still do a lot of this stuff today. That's why we go over this stuff so much as we do. We're still in this place where, Israelites can't see Israel in their own brothers because we are so into what we think Israel should be, right? This is why Yehoshaphat, the Messiah, came, and we were told in Romans chapter 9 that he became a stumbling stone of offense to us, right? Because all these persons saying, well, I would have known who Yehoshaphat was. Who knows? Right? But he came. He was the law. He was the word. He was the manifestation of Elohim, of Yahweh, Abba Yahweh on earth. And he was here on earth, followed all the laws, did everything correctly, and still there were persons, some of them even knew who he was, which is even more sickening and saddening and maddening, right? But he was here on the earth. He was here on the earth. Can I say it again, beloved? He was here on the earth realm. He was here from the correct family. He was here with the bloodline, the only person that had the bloodline that was manifested directly from the Father. Right? He was sperm that was taken through the Spirit, and through Holy Spirit was literally shaped so that he would have a soul breathed into him through Holy Spirit to be able to put physically into a physical sperm, a physical word that would be able to be implanted in the Garden of Mary, who was still a virgin, right? So he was literally the only person to be placed inside of a chaste, right? He's the second Adam. There's really only two, but in this sense, it really wasn't, because Eve was never really placed in the womb or the garden of Adam, right? She came out of the inside of Adam, but she never went through a gestational period. Right? Even time-wise, if you look at the book of Jubilee, chapter 2, I believe, chapter 1 and chapter 2, it talks about it even in more detail, right? But the time was nowhere close to 9 months. But here we have the sperm, the seed, all this stuff put directly in the womb of Mary, as she's still pure, as she's still chaste. Everything about his appearance, everything about his coming, everything about his going, everything about his life, everything about his death, everything about his blood, everything about his actions was perfect. And we still didn't see the Israel in him, and it don't get more Israel than him. You hear what I'm saying? We still didn't see. This is why sometimes I have to be careful too, because I can't get on the point to where I'm looking for credibility to come from man, especially when it's coming from sometimes some of these Hebrew Israelites, because some of them are so off put with something, that they don't realize that just because my fringes aren't blue and yellow doesn't mean that when this doesn't fringe up, it's not fringes. Right? They're so stylized in something. They've said this is Israel. They're so stylized that somebody come on and they do stuff like this and they make sure that they rapping and stuff like that. Just because you rap it don't mean that you Israel, bro. Just because you sing well don't mean you Israel, sis. Just because you make sure that you modest, whatever your version of modesty is, your modesty doesn't make you Israel either. That just means that you're not showing your bosom. And I'm not saying that you should. I'm just telling you, if you think that it's modesty only, I'm not saying modesty against it. I'm trying to tell you, persons will try to stylize this walk rather than let it be what Yah says. I'm not saying be out there and show all your stuff. No, that's against Yah's will. But what I'm saying is at the same time, if you think that if a woman covers her whole face up and her whole body and you can't see anything, you got a saran wrap walking around like this and some black saran wrap and she can barely breathe because you cut the little thing in for her nose, and you think that made her a woman, a Yah's woman, you got a long way to go, bro. If you think that the fact that, okay, right, and I'm not saying it's not righteous. A man who can't take care of his family is less than an infidel, and I believe in financially taking care of your family. So those that think that it's only about money, money didn't even exist when the Bible was written. There's other ways to make sure that your family can be provided for, taken care of. You know, there's brothers that are doing the best they can. And look, I get it. It's not the thing that's there. I'm not saying you should bring your wife or your children into poverty. I'm just saying there's brothers out there who are making sure their family taken care of, even if they living in a big van and taking a family of 4 and doing what they got to do until they can get that house. There's other ways, and even if he's not doing this, he can do chores, he can do things, he can go for walks, he can be listened to, he can make sure Bible study is there, he can do a lot of different things, right? But I say so, I'm here to agree with you. The Bible says your goal should be to make sure you take care of your family. I'm out all day, every day. If your family decides when you're doing the marital discussions and everything correctly as far as the Bible is concerned, if your family decides that they want to go ahead and have a man that doesn't have a job still be able to get with a wife, or a husband get with a wife, that's up to y'all. That being said, though, on the flip side, I'm here to also preach and teach to you that, guess what? Even if your man is making $7 million a month and he's got 15 homes and he can provide for you anyway, and you go on vacation every week, right? Your family day is family vacation. You go somewhere for 2 days every week. Every weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you're going to another place in the world on a private jet, right? You don't even get jet lag because your jet is so nice. Even if that's the case, I'm here to tell you, beloved, as much as you might think that's a great thing and awesome and all that stuff, I'm just here to let you know, you ready for this? And all that, he can have the greatest finances in the world and still not be a husband. She can be the prettiest thing ever and still not be a wife. He can have as many abs and whatever you need him to have in the gray sweatpants as possible, and he can still not have much. Because a lot of persons are like this. They are whitewashed tombs. I'm trying to help somebody. Yehoshua describes some of the religious leaders or some of the people as being whitewashed tombs. What is a whitewashed tomb? If you were to go to a tomb and somebody had a little placard or something, or they had something sticking up out the ground, whatever they might have, and all of a sudden it's white, right? That stone is white. It might look nice on the outside, but if you were to ever dig up the grave, what you would discover is that what's inside is wretched, is nasty, is falling apart, and you wouldn't want to really see it because it's not a whole human anymore. Matter of fact, it's nothing that's alive. Even if it's just dry bones at that point, you still don't necessarily want to see it. It's something raunchy about you, but it would smell nasty, right? But a lot of persons are like that. They are like whitewashed tombs. On the outside, they give this appearance of preacher. They give this appearance of teacher. They give this appearance of pastor. They give this appearance of husband, this appearance of wife, this appearance of a child of the Most High. But when you look on the inside, it's dead. There's no life. They're like whitewashed tombs. So you have Israel show up. He can't see Israel and somebody else. Here's another one for you. Israel shows up, right? Israel shows up, but can't see himself. This is a problem too. Israel shows up, but they can't see Israel. Wait a minute, everybody here, all the Kemetic persons, all the stuff going on, if anybody should see Israel, it should be us. If anybody should know what Israel's children look like, it should be us. Israel shows up and can't see him within himself. That's part of the problem too, is that we can't see ourselves. We haven't been raised on what it is to be Israel, and we have persons who haven't been raised who are trying to teach us. And look, that includes me to a certain degree. I've been doing it a lot longer, but it doesn't mean that I'm not somebody getting it too. We are in a very precarious situation. We should be very careful and take this very seriously. We have an opportunity to salvage this relationship with Yah and salvage our community and salvage our nation, right? But we got to be careful. We got to take steps properly. We can't just do whatever we feel like or just do what feels great in the moment, right? That's why we got a lot of persons who hop from place to place to place to place to place. I'm telling you right now, be careful about these church hoppers who now are coming in to being Israelites. They've hopped over so many places. If you notice, if you just pay attention to them, they're not just hopped. They came into your organization, your structure. They came into being a Hebrew Israelite, etc. And now what are they doing? They're doing the same thing they did in the other places. And once they get tired of that, they hop right back out, talking about they Christian again. But they came in, they were like, yeah, we need to leave God alone. It's about Al-Kham. And then as soon as something didn't go their way, they hop back out. And now it's about God again. Right? Oh, yeah, we need to make sure that things are done correctly. And I, as a sister, I'm going to make sure that I learned what it is to be under a husband. And they hopped in and said they were going to do it. And then all of a sudden, as soon as it was like, hey, this is what it takes to be a wife. This is what it takes to be a woman of Yah. This is what it takes to be a leader of Yah. This is what it takes to be a husband of Yah. All of a sudden, they hop right back out. You're seeing the same thing. See, we're assuming that just because somebody is saying there's something that they actually know what it is, they actually can see. You have Israelites that show up and can't see the Israel in them. Joseph has kept the command, even being separated or scattered. He's kept the commands of Yah. That's what's got him where he is. He could therefore can see the Israel in his brothers because he never forgot who he was. His brothers are with Israel, are living where Israel is, are living where heaven meets earth, and yet when they leave and see their brother, who clearly is where they're from, they can't even see it in him. See, sometimes we have to be careful. Just because that's why I say all the time, just because you sat in the pews next to somebody doesn't mean they believe what the Bible said. Right? You know how many persons? I'm learning more and more through more situations, through more years, through more maturity. Just because some of the persons that I knew were going to rock with me from 2018, knew were going to rock with me from 2004. Some of the persons I knew were going to rock with me from 2013. I'm putting those because I know there's a particular markers in my life I can look at, right? But certain persons, I knew these persons were going to be here. I knew these persons were going to be around. I knew this family member was going to do. I knew that this pastor that I was under, I was going to be with them forever in some way, shape, or form. I knew. Now I've learned, like, don't make the assumption that just because somebody sits next to you or somebody says the same name that you say or somebody says they have the same values you have, don't pay attention to the white on the outside of the tomb, right? Do some digging. And when you dig underneath and you realize it's a dead body inside, you might want to realize that it don't matter what it means on the outside if the body on the inside is dead, if the heart of the matter is dead. Right? I'm just saying. I knew that some of these dudes, some of the Brodies, they were gonna be my brothers. I knew that these brothers, and then all of a sudden, when everybody was like, "Oh man, you know what? You're not a Christian anymore," and they excommunicated me. Now all of a sudden, these same brothers coming back, acting like we're supposed to be like this because now they're like, "Oh, you were telling the truth, but you just hopping." Right? This is why Joseph puts them to a test. We're almost out of time. I promise we're gonna end on time. I know I started really late today, right? So this is why Joseph, he puts them to the test. Sometimes you need to put people to the test. You need to put persons to the test. That's why we're even doing the graft-in stuff now. That's why we're making sure that there's certain things that they must be done no matter what. That's why we're not going to go to the left or to the right, even when hard times come. Sometimes you got to be tested. Do you not know that you won't know if it's a diamond, if it's not put through the fire? Do you not know that you won't be able to, or the acid wash test or whatever? You won't know if it's gold, if it's not purified, if it doesn't go through a place of literally being tested or being tempted. You tempt the gold to make sure there's no impurities or to get as much impurity out. Right? And so we will be tested. You will be tested in your personal life, in your business life, in your professional life, or whatever life, in your marital life, in whatever life you want to talk about. You will be tested because you must be tested to see if you're pure gold. After you're baptized, we teach this. After Yahshua was baptized, here comes the test. They don't tell you that in a lot of places. But after you're baptized, it's not all sunshine and roses. You're supposed to fast. Well, it doesn't mean you have to physically fast, but Yehoshua, he fasted for 40 days, or for 40 nights. And then after that, while he was still fasting, after the 40 days and 40 nights, he was tempted thrice, 3 times, and had to have the word in him in the midst of a situation where he was already fasting to remove himself from any fleshly desires. That's right, the test is necessary. And to not sound too cliche, but where does your testimony come from? It comes through the test. If you ain't never been chastised, see, watch this. There's a reason why, even though we kind of joke about it a little too much in our diaspora, but there's a reason why all of us like to have like little jokes and laugh and stuff like that about spankings and stuff like that, and sometimes highly abusive behavior that we had, because we came out. Like, we know that you wasn't supposed to, even though it was technically used to switch your behavior to switch, we know that you shouldn't have been using no trees on us to whip us. We know you shouldn't have been whipping us. Somebody taught you that from another culture. We know this. That being said, though, we laugh about it. We say, oh, we made it through. Why? Because we went through the test. It's a testimony. Right? It's not just only a measuring contest of sorts. It is a testimony for us to be able to come together and go, oh man, we made it through, right? So the same thing that's happening in your life, there's a test you must go through. Yahweh chastises those who he loves, not just so that he can make sure that they're purified, but also he wants to make, look, he himself, if you want to go there as far as the manifestation of him on earth, or if you want to look at it as his only begotten son, right? He himself came down and made sure that he was chastised, right? He was bruised, right? For your what? By his stripes you are what? And he can tell you to do what he says. Why? Because he did it already. Come on, beloved. He did it already. So if he says, hey, go away and sin no more, he can say that because he never said it. If he says, crucify the flesh, he can do it because not only did he crucify the flesh, but he had his flesh crucified. Right? If he says, put the Father first, he can say it because he put him first. If he says this is how you pray, he can say it because not only did he teach it, but he prayed about that. If he tells you to get baptized, he can say do so because he was submerged. If he says follow the law, he can say it because he never broke the law. He went through it, and his testimony is what allows him to speak. It gives authority to you. There are some things that some of you would never hear from me had I not gone through what I went through. See, this is what Joseph recognizes. Joseph says this later on himself. He says, hey, I need you to recognize that the test, I'm testing you, and once you pass the test, I need you to recognize, brothers, that it wasn't even really your test. It was Yah's test. Come on, somebody. He says, brothers, I need you to recognize that Yah works all things together. So even though it was not Yah's will that you would do to me what you did, he knew what you would do, and he was in the past, present, and future making sure he put the whole story together. So by the time we got here, you would be able to see that it was his glory. I've seen now that you've changed. I've seen that you passed the test that I had for you. But I want you to recognize, brothers, that really this was all Yah's doing at the end of the day, because he's going to get the glory out of it. He saw what was going on. He asked for my obedience. While I was obedient, he made sure that I was able to be so much of a curse breaker that the very person that you thought you had cursed, even possibly to death, is the very person that now has become your blessing. Come on, somebody. I'm trying to help you out. He didn't do it by changing up. He did it by being steadfast, unmovable, always abounding. The very person that you thought you were cursing, you must recognize, those who curse me shall be cursed. You went through it, didn't you? You felt guilty, didn't you? You knew that you had lied to your father, didn't you? Now you got to go back to your father and tell him that I'm alive. That's going to do something to you, isn't it? That being said, though, I was steadfast and unmovable. So while you were trying to curse me and going through the curse, I'm here to tell you, I am the barak that Yah sent. And I never wavered, even from when I told you to bow the first time. Somebody missed that. Right? You were told in the dream, you were given the interpretation. Bow, right? See, watch this. Bow to your brother. A lot of people don't like this, because here it is. But your brother is the king. This ain't somebody random. It's the king. It's not saying you're not a human being, You're bowing to the throne, not necessarily to the bear. Persons don't catch this is why kingdom and culture is necessary for us to go through. You're not bowing to the person, you're bowing to the position. Right? Right now, as much as you guys don't like it, Trump is the president. I'm no longer in the United States as far as being part of the corporation or a part of the United States military. That being said, if I was in, and you'd have to be a Marine anyways, I wasn't a Marine, but let's say I was in still and I was a Marine, if I'm a Marine, regardless of how I feel about Trump or not, guess what? When Trump comes through, boom. Why? Not because I'm saluting the man, I'm saluting the presidency. Period. That's how it works. You're not saluting the man, you're saluting the presidency. If I ever were to meet Donald Trump in person, I doubt this will happen, but let's say, you never know. Who knows, because there's things I've done that I never thought I would do. If I were to ever meet Donald Trump in person, I would shake his hand. I know some person wouldn't like that. I would shake his hand, I would look him in the eye, and I would call him Mr. President. Because I respect the office. I'm not saying the office does respectful things towards my people. I'm just telling you the truth. I know the office, right? He's not Donald Trump. He's not blah, blah. This is not Donald Trump. This is the office. This is the office. That's how it works. When SOC is doing stuff on the line, we have to go through the states, right? Or if we have to go through another country or wherever it is that we're doing, guess what you do? If I meet the president somewhere or whatever, if we start talking about land and different things like that, I'm going to make sure that I say Mr. President or Prime Minister. Why? Because game recognizes game, right? Royalty recognizes royalty. If I go in front of a chieftain, right, and I say that I'm the leader of SOC, the chieftain respects it. And if he would bow to me, I would bow to him, but I will bow first. Why? Because I'm on your land. See, this is how sovereignty works. The Most High, yeah, he would call me pastor. Matter of fact, we've already gone through this several times. If I met other chieftains, if I met other pastors, if I met other places in the world, guess what? They all address me as pastor. This is why I don't care if I'm invited to somebody's platform and they only got 2 persons on it or whatever. When I come on there, I respect it. If you're the pastor, this is what you've been given credence over. If I go and somebody asks me to preach or something you're doing, I'm going to ask questions and ask what is allowed there. Why? Because just because one might say, well, you know the truth. No. I respect the office. This is why when Moses is sent back to Pharaoh, now this is, we're talking about hundreds of years later, but when Moses is sent to Pharaoh to get Israel out, right? When he's sent back, or sent back for his people, he addresses Pharaoh as Pharaoh. He doesn't say, man, whatever, I know who you be. I don't care about you Ramses. We grew up together, like the movie said and all this stuff. We don't know exactly how they grew up, but you know. He'll say, no, Pharaoh. That's who I'm addressing. I'm addressing the office. I'm addressing the position. Y'all even asked. Remember, he could have just came in and said, yo, see, you don't comprehend how kingdom works. He could have just came in there, right? Like Stone Cold, coming out there, right? Doing all that stuff or whatever. Throwing the middle finger up, F everybody in here. Come on, Israel, we out. He could have done that, but he's royalty. He comprehends how stuff is. He's royalty. You don't come into his throne like that. He's not gonna come into yours like that. Somebody says, well, that's not the Yah I know. Well, that's a problem. You're royalty. You should know how royalty walks, and you should accept it. This is why even when, what's her face? Meghan Markle? Is that the one that married Harry? Meghan Markle? When all that stuff went down, and everybody's talking about, can you believe the royal family and how racist they are and this and that or whatever? I mean, yeah, I can. That's not actually a big deal for me. Right? But the part that was interesting for me is everybody's like, can you believe the story? She came in there and and the queen just hates her. And I was like, look, even if the queen doesn't like her color, the queen is actually a little more upset about some other stuff than what y'all think. She doesn't like her because she's black, possibly, whatever. I don't think she really cares because Harry's not going to be on the throne. That being said, right, like, she possibly is upset with some of that stuff. But one of the things the stories that got by that always bothered me that persons didn't catch this, but once again, it's because we don't comprehend kingdom. First of all, so Harry is going to an event. It's supposed to be for the royal family, and it's supposed to be just a private thing for them, right? He invites her to it. Harry messed up. He's out of pocket, number one, because at a private event for the queen, you don't bring anybody else. So he's already messed up. He starts trying to get Meghan Markle to be like that. He was like, well, how you feel about, meeting the queen? And so Meghan says this. She goes, oh, I love grandmothers, which is a really weird thing to say. But she says, I love grandmothers. And he says, and he corrects her. He says, no, 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 no. You're not meeting a grandmother. You're not meeting my grandmother. You're meeting the queen. He makes it very clear to her. There's a distinction here. He starts asking questions like, do you know how to curtsy? Do you know how to do you know how to do that? Because when I go before her, I'm going to bow, even in private. Because she's the queen. There's times that maybe she gets to be my grandmother, but for real, 24/7, she's the queen. She's not my grandmother. She's been put in a position to where that's what it is, right? So he's telling her like this stuff. And so she's like, oh no, we'll be fine, this and that. So she comes to this event in private. She comes unannounced. By the way, the queen, by law, right? This is why law is important. Persons don't like to talk about law. But the queen, by law, is not even supposed to meet any of these persons who could potentially be on the throne and get married into the family. She's not supposed to meet them until the wedding day. Maybe y'all didn't know that. She's not even supposed to meet them. So she's totally thrown off. She shows up to this event, right? She's like finally like, okay, I can put my hair down a little bit with my family or whatever. And then, who is this? Okay. So I'm jolted, stuff like that. And then here comes this person that doesn't know about the respect, doesn't know about the courtesy, and all of a sudden tries to shake her hand. Now, I'm not saying that means that she deserves to be mistreated, blah, blah. I'm not even saying that's how our kingdom necessarily works. I'm trying to tell you positions matter, right? When she talks to the people, when the queen, she's passed away now, obviously, but when she's alive, when she addressed the people of England, she never said I. At least not as the queen, because the queen never says I. She says we, because she's supposed to represent her, their God, and them. So the queen never says I. She says we, because of the position she holds. It's not about her, right? She never says I. She says we. The king never says I. He says we, because he's supposed to represent their God, himself, and the people. So Meghan comes before the queen and totally out of pocket. Now, look, I'm not saying that this allows racism. I'm just telling you that's kind of out of pocket. And Harry, you was out of pocket for even inviting her. And so now you come into this place and you've done this stuff or whatever. Now everybody just goes, oh, yeah, the queen just like, no, you were totally out of protocol. And even with this, if nobody even knew you were coming, that means that, like, even though the guards probably would have, like, looked over her and checked her and all that, if nobody knew you were coming, that means that you're out of pocket as far as the queen is supposed to be guarded at all costs. That's what she's supposed to be. You don't just let anything around the queen. Even persons that are her family. Do you not know that even her husband, King, was it King Philip, I believe? Even King Philip from time to time had to be checked. That's her husband. They had children together. They sleep with each other. So he got to get checked sometime too. If he went somewhere and we didn't know where he went, he found a way to get away from us or something, and he come back in, you got to get checked, bro. And we got to put you through a whole thing of questioning, because the queen come first. That's what it is. That's the position she carries. So when everybody just goes, oh, Meghan Markle, blah, blah, no, you out of protocol. And so, yeah, she looking at you weird from that point on. And maybe she did do some stuff to make your ceremony look bad. I don't know. That's petty. I'm not giving respect to it. Maybe she didn't like you already because you were black. I don't even think it's a maybe, but, maybe she didn't like you because you were black. But there's still protocol. Donald Trump don't like me, but if I were to meet him, he's still Mr. President. Matter of fact, if I follow protocol, Donald Trump's type of person, you know what? I'll give credit for this. I know we're not supposed to find credit in anybody. We're only supposed to look for the evils in everybody, but especially if we dislike him. I'll give Donald Trump credit for this. Even if he says some heinous stuff, if you got to glaze him, you got to give him like extreme. Sorry, I'm not supposed to use the term glaze. All right, excuse me. I'm watching young stuff. You have to promote him. You have to make him feel great about himself. You have to like overdo it. But if you just simply like give him credit or just like don't say anything bad about him, he'll actually like hook you up. He'll actually just be like, oh yeah, you know, so and so, he seemed to be pretty decent. Matter of fact, with Puff Daddy, a lot of persons were thinking he might give him a pardon. And he said that he would look into it. He was like, I don't even really know what's going on with Puff. He was like, Puff Daddy used to always say really nice things. He said, and then a couple years ago, he started saying some mean things about me. And basically, like, he was basically saying, no, I just pay attention to how he treats me. And when I was president, I was running for president, whatever, he started mistreating me, then I started looking at him different. I give credit where credit's due. It doesn't mean that he's a great man. I'm just saying, if you treat him at least if you treat the office, even you don't have to treat him with respect, you're not dealing with him, you're dealing with the office. If you just deal with the office correctly, you usually get better things. There are persons, like, look at, what's his name? What's the name of the guy over North Korea? I'm trying to give him the wrong name. Not Chi. Whatever his name is. The guy over there. There's persons that you would be like, Kim Jong, thank you. Is he Il came first, or Il was second? There's 3 Kim Jongs, right? Anyways, Kim Jong Un or Kim Jong Il or whatever he is. Okay. He you'd be amazed at the persons that he has come to Korea and rolls the red carpet out for and lets them do whatever. Like, you would think in your mind he hates everybody, he hates black people. No, like Dennis Rodman, for example. That's a weird one, but it's a true one. Dennis Rodman, he loves him some Dennis Rodman. Because Dennis Rodman come over, Dennis Rodman defends him, he shouldn't, but defends what he does, and Dennis Rodman, like, it's just like coming over to party. Because Dennis Rodman, he protects the office. So Kim Jong-un is like, oh, cool. And Rodman's been over there several times, right? He had the WCW over there. Loves wrestling. The guys came over there, respected the office. You know what I'm saying? Like, he'll have persons over there, you'd be like, how are these persons? You'll have persons that you would think would be diametrically opposed to him in the political climate that we're in. They can come over there anytime that they want. And I'm not trying to say Kim Jong-un is a great person. I'm trying to get this across to you. Respect the office. Right? If you caught that, that's a kingdom mentality. If you catch that, you'll discover, even if, see, this is when I say stuff, you don't have to like somebody. The Bible declares love. Love is the action and love should be given for the office, right? I've been honest with y'all. I have not always liked everything that Yah has asked of me. I have not always liked everything that Yah has asked of me, but I've loved it. That's the difference, right? You don't have to like somebody to love them. You don't have to like every member or every person or every family member or every person who's part of SOC. You're not commanded to like anybody. Did you know that? You're not commanded to like anybody. I don't have to like anybody. Love is another level. If I don't like myself, I still have to love you. If I don't like the command, I still have to love the command. I still have to act upon it. I still have to follow it. That's the difference. This is the difference between the Christian and the follower of the way, because the Christian, if they don't like the command, they try to erase it. But even if we don't like the command, we make sure we love it. You see the difference? Right? So I'm not called to like the position. I'm called to love it. Now, there's levels of love, and there's even ways that the Bible describes the way we should love, including loving our enemies. You don't love your enemy to the point to where you give them just as much or more than you give your babies, right? You don't make sure your babies are at home starving because your enemy came and knocked on the door and said, hey, F you, I'm hungry. And you make sure to show love that you give them food, right? And your babies don't have no food now because you need to love your enemy. That's not correct either, right? But we're not commanded to like, we're commanded to love. Right? There are persons that when you see me responding to them, even on social media, clearly I don't like them. I'm not going to pretend. We're not going to pretend here. There's clearly persons that I interact with, I don't like them. Still love them. There's persons that I don't like stuff that they say about me, blah, blah. You'd be surprised at some of the persons who have left SOC, some of the persons who talk bad about SOC, some of the persons who have made channels against anti-SOC, whatever, and that we've still loved them behind the scenes and made sure that they straight. Only because y'all said it. And only because sometimes it was a promise that we promised them before they left. But either way, right? Like and love are two different things. Now, it's been a while since we did some of the financial stuff with them, but still, right? This is why we still protect persons. Persons might be gone from us, and there's still certain things that, even if some of you are just coming into knowledge of some things, there's certain things that you'll never hear come from me unless we have to address them. Because part of the love that we have for persons is, even if you dislike me or blah blah whatever, doesn't mean that I'm at liberty to just be like, well, look at this and look at this and look at this. Even in our families, when persons don't like us, we're not at liberty to just go, well, I'm gonna stop loving you. Right? I was just talking about some of this today, dealing with stuff in my family where somebody not clearly just does not like me. They're making it a point to show how they do not love me. At least they're trying to make it seem as such. And even with that being said, it's not my responsibility to like them, even though I still like them, but it's my responsibility to love them. And love, but once again, be careful. As we said before, you can only love somebody where you're allowed. I'm not going to go into wickedness or evil, or I'm not going to do something to try and show love to somebody where it's not where Yah sent me or who told me to. Because remember this about kingdoms too. Wherever you sit, wherever the throne is, that's where the power is. So wherever the king goes, that's where the power is. And you don't take the kingdom of Yah just to anywhere. And this is why you touch no man suddenly, or do not be touched by anybody suddenly. Right? Because the power of Yah is not to be trifled with, and it's not to just be arbitrarily used just because we feel like it one day. So Joseph, there's a lot of stuff we can get out of this. It's 11 o'clock on the dot. Not in my drop top. But that was corny. My bad. Those of you who are old enough to get that, we get that. But anyways, even though it'd be 7 o'clock. But that being said, thank y'all for being on. I hope this thing of Joseph, it took a lot of turns. It took us to a couple different places. But prayerfully, you got what y'all has for us. I'm going to get on the road so we can make sure we make it the rest of the way we were supposed to and rest some tonight before we see some of you guys tomorrow. Thank you guys so much. Y'all ain't a Pokemon. There you go. Right? I like that. But thank you all so much. I appreciate you. I won't be able to do the shout out today. I'm going to finish getting the rest of the stuff back in the vehicle and everything, and then we got to get on the road. Those in North Carolina, I'm going to try and use the text train as much as I possibly can. Our goal is tonight, we're trying to do a makeup already, so my goal is to make sure by 9 p.m. New York time to ensure that I am on, 8 p.m. New York time for the live session, 9 p.m. New York time tonight for part 3 or bullet points, or sections 21 through 30 of our drafting sessions tonight. So we'll try to do that, and I'll try to make sure that I'm better at stopping around 9:50 or so. So if you guys have questions, comments, or concerns, you can ask. If you are, please, ma'am, please, sir, if you are going to do some kind of celebration of July 4th or going to look at fireworks, you're going to do something, please, ma'am, please, sir, be careful. First of all, be careful around fireworks, especially if you're buying them and you're setting them off in your backyard, your gardens, you put somewhere where it can catch fire. Also, if you're setting them off out of your hand and stuff like that, please be careful. I know persons in my life from school days and stuff like that who have gotten hurt really bad, let's just say, from those things. Be careful riding on the road. Persons will be doing all types of cookouts and stuff like that and going to places where they can get drunk and all that all day. Be careful, because this is the time too, especially in the climate that we're in. Can I just put this on here? I know that some persons don't want me to say this, but let's just be honest with this too. Be careful. There's going to be some persons out here, beloved, who are going to, what's the best way I can say it? Be careful. There's going to be persons out here that in the climate that we're in are going to be on some racism stuff. It's July 4th, America, F yeah type stuff, you know. So just, I don't like telling persons where to go, where they can't go, and all that stuff. But tonight might be one of them Friday nights that you might want to curl up with a nice book or something, or spend some time with us tonight if you are on the live sessions. It's not our day anyways. You know what I'm saying? It's not our day anyways. Our independence is really our interdependence with Yah. That being said, just be careful, please. All right. Praying for you. We're praying for those in the Northeast. I just found out, and I'm finding out even more so, how detrimental I guess the storm was and stuff in those places, including the place that we live, but we just weren't. So we just weren't there at the time. So prayerfully, you guys are safe, and we care for you guys. Be careful. Those in North Carolina, check the group text, where I'm going to make sure that we go over again who's bringing what. If you can't bring anything, that's cool too. but I'm just going to kind of give a list of what I saw in the chat and who said they're bringing what. Um, we're trying to meet around 4 p.m. From what I comprehend, we should be able to be there for hours because the park's not supposed to close until 9, I believe. If you want to bring some stuff for the children to possibly go swimming, I believe the lake and everything is swimmable and fine. I'm going to triple check that. If those who are coming, if some of y'all brothers and sisters can check that stuff for me too, just to make sure that I'm not the only person who's checked it, because you might find something someplace that I don't. But from what I comprehend, we should be able to be in a place, find some awning and stuff. I'm looking to see if we have to reserve it or if it's open. If it's July 4th weekend, it might be a problem, but we should be able to find something or go somewhere, or even if we needed to, maybe somebody can be sent on assignment, just pick up a little table or something for us real quick, and we can make sure that we find some shade to be under. But we should be fine as far as being able to fellowship and having a place where the children can play. And I myself can play lifeguard if your children want to be in the water, if you don't swim and all that. So if you want to bring swimming stuff for them to participate, I think that there's a nice little swimming hole and stuff like that over there. So what'd you say? Potential algae. Oh, there are algae blooms in there. Okay. Oh, it's posted where hazardous. Okay, so we need to make sure that we're aware that we look for where it's posted. Okay. Thank you for that. Okay. Thank you for that. So I'm gonna look again and double check, or maybe I'll double check with you sometime today just to make sure, or tomorrow if I don't catch you today, because we still got time. But we'll make sure we're aware of that. So thank you for that. So if we don't, we'll find some. We'll have other things for the children to do, of course, and they'll probably just be happy running around. But that being said, prayerfully we can have those things in order for you guys. We look forward to seeing you in person. I think. Let me double check. Let me look at our schedule real quick before you end. I'm gonna look at our schedule real quick just to make sure that I know what's on for today. I'm pretty sure I got it, but just in case, let's make sure that we're doing this righteously. Alrighty, let me see. Give me a second. We gotta turn it around. And thank you for the love, whatever that was. I never seen that. Okay, so all we got left for today, Friday, is 8 p.m. New York time live session, and then 9 p.m. New York time. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's what I was supposed to do. Wow. Okay, well, the Hebrew characters I'm gonna have to do earlier in the day. We'll try to figure that out. But we have to do instead of the Hebrew characters, or maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'll try to do double time and do something late, because the Hebrew characters really for Patreon anyway. So maybe I'll stay up a little late and do a little brief part 2 to some of the Hebrew character stuff that we did earlier in the week. But at 9 p.m. officially, I'm sorry, even if it says something different here on your Google Calendar invite, it'll tell you we should have at 9 p.m. New York time our grafting sections 21 through 30. Okay, so I'll try to do that. And if you guys want to stay on, maybe I'll stay on like another half an hour and turn the last half an hour into a Patreon thing for those who are, for those who are part of SOC University. Okay, we'll do it like that. All right, so love you all to life. You all take care. Thank you for being on. We appreciate you. Pray for us on our travels. We'll keep you guys in prayer as well. Thank you for being on with us. Everybody on TikTok, everybody on YouTube. If you need something from me, if I'm not answering right away, I'm going to be on the road. So please, ma'am, please, sir, make sure you reach out to our secretary or our ministerial staff like we talked about yesterday in our sessions as well. And we look forward to catching you guys soon. So thank you all again. We appreciate you. We honor you. 9 p.m. I know it says something different, but 9 p.m. tonight will be specifically for us to make sure that we're doing our continuing our grafting session to make up for Tuesday, and then I will try my best to make sure we get Patreon stuff fit in there, even if it's just half an hour. We'll make sure that we get some more Hebrew character stuff in there. And if you're part of Patreon family, they're recorded already, so we have them in the Patreon vault, so to speak. If you're part of that tier, so you can always go there for more information or to go over the stuff or go over the things over and over again. Okay. So love you all to life. How you doing, Brother Ali? Everybody, thank you for being on. We appreciate you. I'm gonna go ahead and take my leave, get on the road. No shout out for today. Prayerfully, we'll see you guys at 8 p.m. New York time. And prayerfully, if nothing else, we see you at 9 p.m. New York time. Have fun, be safe. If you are going to these events, just be safe out there on the road. Some of you have to ride all day and stuff, side hustle stuff, etc. Please be safe and know that we're praying for you. We love you all. Thank you all again. Tada, Mashapache. We appreciate you so much. We'll talk to you soon. And as always, we give our honor and praise to the Most High. We give our praise and honor to them for my wife, the Honorable Amma. And remember, as always, family, that you are loved, you are necessary, you are majestic, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and you which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom, family. Peace. Take care. And we'll talk to you soon. Thank you again. Oh, strangely enough, at the end of this, we got to